Have you ever wondered how some people stay so calm no matter what happens around them? Like they have a secret shield that protects them from all the chaos and noise of the world. Tonight, I'm going to share with you ancient secrets, wisdom that has helped millions of people for thousands of years. These aren't just ideas. They're magical keys that can unlock a peaceful heart, a quiet mind, and a spirit that nothing can shake. Imagine walking on a peaceful mountain path as the sun sets behind you, casting long golden shadows on the ground. Your footsteps are soft on the earth, and with each step, you're moving closer to discovering something incredible, something that will change how you see everything forever. The air is cool and fresh. You can smell pine trees and wildflowers. And somewhere up ahead, sitting quietly on an old stone, is someone who has been waiting just for you. Someone who knows the deepest secrets about staying peaceful, no matter what storms might come. Are you ready to meet them? Are you ready to learn how to remain unaffected by anything life brings your way? Before you get settled, please like this video and subscribe. I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is. Just drop a comment and let me know. It's always wonderful to see people from around the world joining us. Now turn down your lights, maybe switch off that fan or any background noise, and let's start this peaceful journey together. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's walk this path together. The meeting. You're walking slowly up a gentle mountain path. The stones beneath your feet are smooth and warm from the day's sunshine. On both sides of the path, tall pine trees sway gently in the evening breeze, making a soft whooshing sound that feels like nature's own lullaby. Step, step, step. Your breathing is calm and easy. The air tastes clean and sweet. Up ahead, you see a figure sitting peacefully on a large, flat stone beside the path. As you get closer, you notice it's an old monk wearing simple brown robes. His face is kind and wrinkled, like a map of many years filled with wisdom. His eyes twinkle like stars, and when he sees you, he smiles the warmest smile you've ever seen. "Hello, dear friend," he says in a voice as gentle as a whisper. "I've been waiting for you. My name doesn't matter much, but you can call me teacher if you like. I've been walking these mountain paths for many, many years, and I've learned some wonderful secrets. Secrets about how to stay peaceful and happy, no matter what happens in the world around us." He pats the stone beside him. "Would you like to sit with me for a moment? I promise, by the time our walk is finished, you'll know exactly how to remain unaffected by anything that might try to disturb your peace." You sit down beside him. The stone is surprisingly comfortable, still warm from the sun. The monk's presence feels like sitting next to a cozy fireplace, safe, warm, and peaceful. "You see," he continues, "most people spend their whole lives being pushed and pulled by everything around them. Like leaves in a storm, they get blown this way and that way. But I'm going to teach you how to be like the mountain itself, strong, steady, and unshakable, no matter how fierce the winds might blow." He stands up slowly and starts walking down the path. "Come," he says, "let me show you the first secret. And as we walk together, just breathe, nice and slow, in and out, feeling more relaxed with each step we take." Part 1, Foundation, Principles. 1. Everything changes, impermanence. Your footsteps and the monk's footsteps make a gentle rhythm on the path. Step, 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 step. The sound is so peaceful, like a slow heartbeat that helps your whole body relax. As you walk together, you begin to hear something beautiful. The sound of flowing water. It gets louder and clearer with each step, until you round a bend in the path and see the most lovely river you've ever seen. The river is not too big and not too small, just right. It flows gently over smooth rocks, making the most soothing sound, like nature's own music, playing just for you. The water is so clear you can see all the way to the bottom, where small fish swim lazily in the current. "Let's stop here," says the monk, settling down on the soft grass beside the riverbank. "This river is going to teach you the first great secret." You sit beside him, feeling the cool grass beneath you. The sound of the water is so relaxing, so peaceful, washing away any worries or thoughts that might have followed you up the mountain. "Watch the water," the monk says softly. "See how it flows? It never stops moving. Each drop of water that passes by this spot will never pass by again. It's always flowing, always changing, always moving toward the sea." You watch the water dance over the rocks. Sometimes it moves quickly, sometimes slowly, but it never stops. "Now look up at that tree," he says, pointing to a beautiful oak tree beside the river. "Do you see how some leaves are green and fresh, while others are turning yellow and orange? And look there, some old leaves are falling gently into the water, while tiny new buds are starting to grow." As if the tree heard him, a golden leaf lets go of its branch and floats down, landing softly on the water. You watch as the current carries it away, spinning slowly like a tiny boat on a grand adventure. "This is the first secret," the monk says, his voice as gentle as the flowing water. "Everything changes, everything. The seasons change, the weather changes, our feelings change, our problems change, even our joy changes." He picks up a small stone and tosses it gently into the water. The ripples spread out in perfect circles, and then they're gone. The water is smooth again. "When something difficult happens to you," he continues, "remember this river. Remember this falling leaf. The difficult feeling is like that leaf. It will fall away and float downstream. It won't stay forever. When something wonderful happens, enjoy it like you're enjoying this peaceful moment. But remember, it will also change and flow into something new." You take a deep breath. The air smells like fresh water and autumn leaves. People who remain unaffected know this secret deep in their hearts, the monk says. They don't fight against change. They flow with it, like this river flows around the rocks. When sad times come, they think, "This too will pass." When happy times come, they think, "This too will pass." They stay peaceful because they know everything changes. You watch another leaf fall into the water. This time you smile as it floats away. "Let's sit here for just another moment," the monk says. "Close your eyes and listen to the river. Breathe in and out, in and out. Feel how this truth settles into your heart like the river settles into its banks. Everything changes, everything flows, and this is beautiful, not scary. The sound of the water becomes even more soothing. Your breathing slows down, in and out, in and out. You feel yourself relaxing deeper and deeper, like you're floating on the gentle current of this peaceful river. Now, the monk says softly, whenever life feels too hard or too overwhelming, you can come back to this river in your mind. You can remember that all things pass, like water flowing to the sea. Are you ready to learn the second secret? Principle 2. Let go of what you can't control. You open your eyes slowly, feeling refreshed and peaceful. The monk is already standing, waiting patiently with that same kind smile. "Come, dear friend," he says. The path continues, and the next lesson is waiting for us. You get up and begin walking again. Your footsteps feel lighter now, as if the river washed away some invisible weight you were carrying. Step, step, step. The rhythm is so comforting. As you walk, the path starts to go slightly uphill. Not steep, just a gentle rise that makes your breathing a little deeper. The air is getting cooler and fresher. You can smell pine needles and something else. Something like rain. Do you smell that? The monk asks. There was a storm here yesterday. Nothing dangerous, just nature watering the forest. But storms sometimes leave surprises. As you round another bend, you see what he means. Ahead of you, the path reaches a small creek, and there's usually a wooden bridge here. You can see where the bridge used to be. The posts are still standing on both sides of the creek, but the bridge itself is gone. The storm must have washed it away. The creek isn't deep, but it's too wide to jump across easily. Oh no, you might think. Now what do we do? But the monk just chuckles softly. Ah, perfect, he says. This broken bridge is going to teach you the second great secret. He sits down on a fallen log near the water's edge, and you sit beside him. The creek makes a gentle bubbling sound as it flows over the rocks. Many people, the monk begins, would stand here and get angry at this broken bridge. They might shake their fists at the storm. They might complain about the person who built the bridge. They might waste hours wishing things were different. He picks up a stick and draws a line in the soft dirt. But here's what these people don't understand. Getting angry at a broken bridge is like being angry at the rain, or being upset with the wind for blowing. The storm happened. The bridge is gone. No amount of anger or worry will bring it back. You look at the broken bridge posts and nod. The second secret is this. Let go of what you can't control, the monk says. You can't control the storm that happened yesterday. You can't control that the bridge is broken. You can't make it magically appear again just by wanting it to. He stands up and starts walking along the bank of the creek. But you can control what you do now. You can control your response. Watch. He finds a spot where several large flat stones make natural stepping stones across the creek. Look, friend. When we stop fighting against what we cannot change, we start seeing solutions we couldn't see before. He steps carefully from stone to stone, crossing the creek easily. Come on, he calls from the other side. Step where I stepped. You follow, placing your feet carefully on each stone. The water bubbles gently around the stones, and you realize this way of crossing is actually more beautiful and peaceful than the old bridge would have been. When you reach the other side, the monk is waiting with a gentle smile. Let me tell you about a farmer I once knew, he says as you start walking again. This farmer worked very hard on his crops. He planted them at the right time, watered them carefully, and kept the weeds away. But then a big storm came and destroyed half his field. The path is soft here, covered with pine needles that make almost no sound under your feet. The farmer's neighbor came over and said, "Oh, this is terrible. This is awful. Why did this have to happen to you?" But the farmer just smiled and said, "The storm is gone now. My job isn't to be angry at yesterday's weather. My job is to plant new seeds today." You can almost picture this wise farmer in your mind. The neighbor thought the farmer was crazy, the monk continues. But you know what happened? While the neighbor spent weeks complaining about the storm, the farmer planted new seeds. And because he planted them later in the season, they avoided the next storm completely. His crop turned out better than anyone else's. The monk stops walking for a moment and turns to face you. People who remain unaffected have learned this secret. They save their energy for things they can actually change. They don't waste their power fighting against things that have already happened or things that are completely beyond their control. You take a deep breath. The air tastes so clean and fresh. When someone is mean to you, the monk says, you cannot control their meanness, but you can control how you respond. When it rains on your picnic, you cannot control the rain, but you can control whether you dance in it or find shelter. When someone you love is having a bad day, you cannot control their mood, but you can control how much kindness you offer. He starts walking again, and you walk beside him. Step, 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 each step feeling more relaxed than the last. Right now, as you walk with me on this peaceful path, let go of anything that's been bothering you, anything you cannot control. Imagine it floating away like that leaf we watched earlier. Let it go. Let it flow. Let it pass. Your shoulders relax. Your breathing becomes even deeper and more peaceful. In and out. In and out. Remember the broken bridge, the monk says softly. Sometimes what looks like a problem is actually showing you a more beautiful path. Are you ready for the third secret? Principle 3. Focus on now, present moment. As you continue walking together, the path starts to curve around a small hill. The monk walks slowly, and you notice he seems to be enjoying every single step. He pauses to smell a wildflower growing beside the path. He smiles at a butterfly that dances around his head. He listens carefully to the sound of birds singing in the trees. Teacher, you ask, you seem so happy with everything, even this simple walk. He chuckles warmly. Ah, that's because I'm here, he says. Really here. Not thinking about yesterday, not worrying about tomorrow. Just walking on this beautiful path with a good friend, breathing this sweet air, feeling grateful for this perfect moment. The path opens up ahead of you, and you see something magical. A small, perfectly round pond, surrounded by smooth grass and wildflowers. The water is so still it looks like a mirror, reflecting the sky and the clouds above. Let's rest here, the monk says. This pond is going to teach you the third great secret. You settle down on the soft grass beside the water. It's like sitting on nature's own comfortable cushion. The pond is beautiful, so clear and peaceful that you can see your face reflected in it, like looking into a gentle mirror. The monk picks up a small pebble and holds it up. Watch carefully, he says, and drops the pebble into the center of the pond. Plip. The pebble disappears into the water, and perfect circular ripples spread out from where it fell. You watch the ripples get bigger and bigger until they reach the edge of the pond, and then the water becomes perfectly still again. Where are the ripples now? The monk asks. They're gone, you say. Exactly. They happened, they were beautiful, and now they're gone. The pond is peaceful again. He settles back more comfortably on the grass. Most people's minds are like this pond when many pebbles are thrown in at once, ripples everywhere, chaos and confusion. He pretends to throw handful after handful of invisible pebbles into the pond. They're thinking about what happened this morning. Splash. They're worrying about what might happen next week. Splash. They're upset about something someone said yesterday. Splash. They're planning and worrying and remembering and regretting. Splash, splash, splash. You can imagine how choppy and chaotic the pond would look. But, the monk says, his voice becoming very gentle and calm, people who remain unaffected have learned the third secret. Focus on now. Just now. Just this moment. He places his hand on his chest. Right now, are you in danger? Right now, are you safe and comfortable? You look around. You're sitting by a beautiful pond on a peaceful evening with a kind teacher breathing fresh air. Yes, you say. Right now, I'm perfectly safe. Exactly, he says. Most of our worries are about things that aren't happening right now. Most of our sadness is about things that already happened and can't be changed. Most of our fear is about things that might never happen at all. A gentle breeze stirs the water, creating tiny, peaceful ripples. But this moment, the monk continues, this exact moment right now, is usually perfectly fine. Feel the grass beneath you. Notice how comfortable you are. Hear the gentle sound of the evening breeze in the trees. Smell the sweet air. This moment is peaceful. You take a deep breath and really notice everything around you. The grass is soft. The air smells like flowers and clean water. Your body feels relaxed and comfortable. The monk is right. This moment is perfectly peaceful. When your mind starts throwing pebbles of worry into your inner pond, he says, just come back to now. Come back to your breathing. Come back to what you can see and hear and feel right now. He demonstrates, taking a slow, deep breath. Breathe in and know that you're breathing in. Breathe out and know that you're breathing out. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the air on your skin. This is how you find peace, not by fixing everything in your life, but by coming home to this moment. You breathe with him, in and out, in and out. Each breath makes you feel more present, more here, more peaceful. Let's try something, the monk says. For the next few breaths, let's just be here together, not thinking about anything else, just enjoying this beautiful pond, this comfortable grass, this gentle evening breeze. You both sit quietly. The only sounds are the soft whisper of wind in the trees and the gentle rhythm of your breathing. In and out, in and out. After a few minutes, the monk speaks very softly. How do you feel? Peaceful, you say. Really peaceful. This is the third secret, he says. The present moment is the only place where peace exists. Yesterday is gone like those ripples. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet, but right now is perfect. He stands up slowly, like someone who doesn't want to disturb the peacefulness. Whenever your mind gets busy and worried, remember this pond. Remember how still and beautiful it became when we stopped throwing pebbles into it. Come back to your breathing. Come back to now. You get up too, feeling refreshed and calm, like you've just had the most relaxing rest. The fourth secret is waiting just ahead, the monk says with a gentle smile, and I think you're going to find it very helpful. Principle 4. Don't take things personally. As you walk away from the peaceful pond, you feel different somehow. Calmer, more present. Your footsteps seem to match your breathing, slow and steady and relaxed. The path winds through a grove of tall trees, and the evening light filters through the leaves, making beautiful patterns on the ground. Everything feels magical and peaceful. But then, from up ahead, you hear something that doesn't sound peaceful at all. Someone is talking very loudly, and they sound angry. As you get closer, you see a person sitting on a rock beside the path. They're red in the face and waving their arms around, complaining about everything they can think of. "This path is too rocky," the person shouts. "These trees are too tall. The sun is too bright. My feet hurt. This whole mountain is stupid." When the angry person sees you and the monk approaching, they point right at you. "And you too. What are you so happy about? Don't you know how terrible everything is? You might feel your peaceful mood start to slip away. The person's anger feels like a dark cloud trying to cover your sunny sky. But the monk just smiles kindly and says, "I hope your day gets better, friend," and keeps walking. He doesn't look upset at all. After you pass the angry person, you ask the monk, "Teacher, why weren't you bothered by what they said? They were so mean." The monk chuckles gently. "Ah, perfect timing for the fourth secret," he says. "Let's sit here by this big tree and I'll show you something wonderful." You settle down in the soft pine needles at the base of a huge ancient tree. The monk picks up a clear glass jar that someone must have left behind and fills it with water from a nearby stream. The water is perfectly clear and clean. Then he scoops up some mud from the stream bank and drops it into the jar. The clear water immediately becomes brown and cloudy. "Now," he says, holding up the murky jar, "is this mud your mud?" "No," you say. "You put it in there." "Exactly," the monk says. "This mud belongs to me, not to you. Even though you can see it, even though it's right here in front of you, it's not your mud. You don't have to be upset about my muddy water, do you?" You shake your head. "The fourth secret is this: don't take things personally," the monk says. When that angry person was shouting, whose anger was it? "Their anger," you say, starting to understand. "Exactly. It was their mud, not yours. Their anger came from their own problems, their own bad day, their own worries. It had nothing to do with you at all." The monk sets the jar down and lets it sit still. Slowly, very slowly, the mud begins to settle to the bottom, and the water starts to become clear again. "Watch this," he says. "When we don't stir up the mud, when we don't take other people's emotions and make them our emotions, everything becomes clear again." You watch as the water becomes cleaner and cleaner. Think of it this way, the monk continues. If someone throws a ball at you, you don't have to catch it, do you? You can just step aside and let it bounce on the ground. Other people's anger, their meanness, their bad moods, these are like balls they're throwing. You don't have to catch them. He picks up the jar and shows you how clear the water has become. People who remain unaffected understand this deeply. When someone is rude to them, they think, that person must be having a hard day. When someone criticizes them, they think, that's about them, not about me. When someone tries to make them feel bad, they just step aside like stepping aside from a thrown ball. A gentle breeze moves through the trees, making a soft whooshing sound that feels very peaceful. But teacher, you ask, what if someone says something that really hurts? The monk nods wisely. Ah, good question. Here's what I've learned. People can only hurt you with their words if you believe their words are true. If someone called you a purple elephant, would you be upset? You laugh. No, because I'm not a purple elephant. Exactly. You wouldn't be hurt because you know it's not true. When someone says something mean about you, ask yourself, is this true? Usually you'll find that it's not true at all. It's just their mud, not yours. He stands up and brushes the pine needles off his robe. And even if someone says something that is true, maybe you did make a mistake, you can think, thank you for helping me see something I can improve. Then it becomes helpful instead of hurtful. As you start walking again, the monk continues. The angry person back there taught us something valuable. They showed us that some people carry a lot of mud in their jar. When they're angry at everything, the rocks, the trees, the sun, we can see that their anger isn't really about those things. It's about the mud they're carrying inside. Your footsteps are soft and peaceful on the path. Step, step, step. Instead of being upset with them, we can feel sorry for them, the monk says. It must be very hard to carry all that mud around all the time. Maybe we can even send them some kind thoughts, hoping their water will become clear again. You think about this as you walk. It makes so much sense. So remember, the monk says softly, when someone is difficult, think of the muddy water. Their mud is not your mud. Their emotions are not your emotions. You can stay clear and peaceful like the settled water, no matter how muddy other people's jars might be. You take a deep breath, and it feels like breathing in clarity and peace. In and out, in and out. The fifth secret, the monk says with a warm smile, is going to show you how to make your heart even stronger and more peaceful. Are you ready? Principle 5. Practice loving kindness. The path ahead looks different now. Instead of pine trees, you're walking through a meadow filled with wildflowers. The grass is soft under your feet, and there are flowers everywhere. Yellow ones, purple ones, white ones that seem to glow in the gentle evening light. As you walk through this beautiful meadow, you hear a small sound. Peep, peep. It's very quiet and sad. Wait, says the monk holding up his hand. Do you hear that? You both stop and listen. Peep, peep. The sound is coming from near a large rock at the side of the path. The monk walks over carefully and looks behind the rock. Oh, dear little friend, he says gently. Come and see. You come closer and see a small bird sitting on the ground. One of its wings is hanging at an odd angle. It must be hurt and can't fly. Poor little bird, you say. What can we do? The monk kneels down very slowly so he doesn't scare the bird. Hello, little one, he says in the softest voice. We're here to help. Amazingly, the bird doesn't fly away. It looks up at the monk with bright, trusting eyes. The fifth secret, the monk says quietly, is about loving kindness. Watch. Very gently, the monk picks up the bird. It fits perfectly in his cupped hands. The bird seems to understand that it's safe. See how this little bird trusts us? The monk whispers. That's because kindness creates kindness. When we approach others with love in our hearts, they can feel it. He examines the bird's wing very carefully. This wing isn't broken, he says. I think it's just twisted. Sometimes that happens when birds fly into branches. Very, very gently, the monk helps straighten the bird's wing. The bird stays perfectly calm, as if it knows it's being helped. There, the monk says. Let's see if that feels better. He holds his hands up, and the bird spreads both wings. They look perfect now. With a happy chirp, the bird flies up into the sky, circling once above your heads as if to say thank you before flying away toward the trees. That was wonderful, you say. The monk sits down in the soft grass, and you sit beside him. The meadow smells like honey and sunshine. That little bird just taught us something very important, he says. When we offer loving kindness to others, even when they're hurt or scared or angry, something magical happens. It helps heal both them and us. He places his hand over his heart. Right now, how does your heart feel? You think about it. Warm, you say. Happy, good. Exactly. When we help others, when we offer kindness, it makes our own hearts grow bigger and stronger. It's like the bird's happiness flew right into our hearts too. The monk picks a small yellow flower and twirls it gently between his fingers. But here's the really amazing part about loving kindness, he says. You don't have to wait for a hurt bird to appear. You can practice loving kindness anytime, anywhere, even with people who are far away. How? You ask. Like this, he says, closing his eyes. Think of someone you love very much. Picture them in your mind. You close your eyes and think of someone special to you. Now, the monk continues, his voice very gentle. Imagine sending them warm, golden light from your heart. Picture that light surrounding them, keeping them safe and happy. In your mind, say to them, may you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe and loved. You imagine golden light flowing from your heart to the person you're thinking of. It feels wonderful. Do you feel that warmth in your chest? The monk asks. You do. It's like a cozy fire has been lit inside your heart. Now try something even more amazing, he says. Think of someone who has been difficult or mean to you. Maybe that angry person we met earlier. You picture the angry person from the path. This might feel harder, the monk says, but try sending them that same golden light. Remember, they're carrying around all that mud in their jar. They probably need kindness more than anyone. Say to them, may you be happy. May your heart be peaceful. May you find what you're looking for. At first it feels strange, but then you realize something wonderful. Sending kind thoughts to difficult people doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. It's like your heart is growing bigger. How do you feel now? The monk asks. Amazing, you say. Like my heart is glowing. The monk opens his eyes and smiles. This is the fifth secret. People who remain unaffected practice loving kindness, not just with easy people, but with everyone, even people who are mean to them, even people who don't deserve it. A butterfly lands on the flower in his hand, then flutters away. You see, he continues, when someone is mean to you and you respond with loving kindness in your heart, something incredible happens. Their meanness can't stick to you. It's like they're throwing mud at a mountain covered with flowers. The mud just falls off, but the flowers keep blooming. You both sit quietly for a moment, just enjoying the warm feeling in your hearts. And the most beautiful part, the monk says softly, is that the more you practice loving kindness, the stronger it gets, like a muscle that grows with exercise. Soon, kindness becomes your natural way of being. Your heart becomes so full of light that nothing dark can find a place to land. He stands up slowly and offers you his hand to help you up. Let's walk a little more, he says. And as we walk, let's send loving kindness to everyone and everything we see. The flowers, the trees, any animals we might meet, and even people far away who we'll never meet, but who might need some extra love today. As you walk through the rest of the meadow, you practice sending golden light from your heart to everything around you. Your chest feels warm and glowing, and every step feels lighter than the last. These 5 secrets we've learned, the monk says as you reach the other side of the meadow, are like 5 strong roots of a tree. They'll help you grow into someone who truly cannot be shaken by the storms of life. The sun is getting lower now, painting the sky in soft colors of orange and pink. We have more secrets to discover, the monk says with a gentle smile. But for now, just enjoy walking with these 5 truths in your heart. Feel how peaceful you are. Feel how strong and unshakable you've become. Your breathing is slow and deep and peaceful. In and out. In and out. With each breath, these 5 foundations of peace settle deeper into your heart, becoming part of who you are. Part 2. Emotional Balance. Principle 6. Observe your thoughts like clouds. The sun is sinking lower in the sky now, painting everything in soft golden light. As you walk with the monk along the peaceful path, you come to the top of a small hill. Spread out before you is the most beautiful meadow you've ever seen, wide and open, covered in soft grass that looks like nature's own carpet. "This is perfect," the monk says with a gentle smile. "Let's rest here for a while. I want to show you something that will change how you think about thinking." You both lie down on your backs in the soft grass. It feels like lying on the most comfortable bed in the world. The grass smells sweet and fresh, and the earth beneath you feels solid and supportive. "Look up," the monk says softly. Above you, the sky stretches out like a huge, peaceful dome, and floating across this sky are the most beautiful clouds you've ever seen. Some are big and puffy like cotton balls. Some are thin and wispy like silk scarves. Some are moving quickly, and others are drifting so slowly you can barely tell they're moving at all. "Just watch them," the monk says, his voice as gentle as the evening breeze. "Don't try to change them or judge them. Just watch." You lie there watching the clouds drift by. It's so peaceful. Your breathing becomes slow and deep. In and out. In and out. The clouds seem to be dancing across the sky just for you. "See that big cloud there?" The monk points to a fluffy white cloud shaped almost like a rabbit. "Watch it for a moment." You watch the cloud rabbit drift slowly across the sky. As it moves, it changes shape. First, it looks like a rabbit, then like a flower, then like something you can't quite name. After a few minutes, it's completely different from when you first saw it. "Where did the rabbit go?" the monk asks. "It changed," you say. "It became something else." "Exactly. And did you feel sad when the rabbit shape disappeared?" You think about it. "No, not really. It was just interesting to watch it change." "Beautiful," the monk says. "You've just learned the sixth secret without even knowing it. Your thoughts are exactly like these clouds." He sits up slowly and looks at you with kind eyes. Most people think their thoughts are very important. They think every thought that comes into their head is true or needs attention or should be listened to. But thoughts are just like these clouds. They come, they change, they go away. You sit up too, still watching the clouds drift across the sky. "Let me show you what I mean," the monk says. "Right now, think about a pink elephant wearing a purple hat." Immediately you picture a pink elephant with a purple hat in your mind. "There," the monk says with a chuckle. "Where did that thought come from? Did you ask for it? Did you need it? No, it just appeared when I suggested it, just like clouds appear in the sky." You laugh. He's absolutely right. "Now stop thinking about the pink elephant," he says. But of course, now you can't stop thinking about it. The more you try not to think about it, the more the pink elephant bounces around in your mind. This is what happens when we fight with our thoughts, the monk explains. When we try to push them away or control them, they often get stronger. But watch what happens when we treat them like clouds. He lies back down in the grass, and you lie down beside him. "Just let that pink elephant be there in your mind," he says. "Don't fight it. Don't feed it. Just let it be, like a cloud in the sky of your mind." You stop trying to push the thought away. You just let it be there. "Now watch what happens naturally," the monk says softly. After a minute or two, you realize the pink elephant thought has faded away on its own, just like a cloud drifting out of sight. "This is the sixth secret," the monk says, his voice as peaceful as the evening sky. "Your thoughts come and go like clouds. You don't have to believe every thought. You don't have to follow every thought. You don't have to be upset by thoughts that aren't helpful. A new cloud drifts into view. This one looks like a dragon. When a worried thought comes into your mind, the monk continues, you can watch it like watching this dragon cloud. You can think, oh, there's a worry cloud. When an angry thought appears, you can notice it. There's an anger cloud. When a sad thought drifts through, you can observe it. There's a sadness cloud. The dragon cloud is already changing shape, becoming something that looks like a sailing ship. People who remain unaffected know this secret deeply, he says. They don't get caught up in every thought that passes through their mind. They watch their thoughts like we're watching these clouds, with curiosity and peace, but without getting dragged around by them. You watch more clouds drift by. There's something so relaxing about just observing them without trying to change them or hold on to them. The sky is always peaceful, the monk says softly. Even when there are storm clouds, the sky itself, the space that holds the clouds, remains calm and unchanging. Your mind is like this sky. Your thoughts are like the clouds. The thoughts may be stormy sometimes, but the part of you that watches the thoughts, that part is always peaceful. You lie there for a few more minutes, just watching clouds and feeling completely relaxed. Your breathing is deep and slow, in and out, in and out. Whenever your thoughts get busy or worried, the monk says, remember this meadow. Remember lying here watching clouds. Come back to being the peaceful sky that watches thoughts come and go. He sits up slowly. The seventh secret is waiting for us just ahead, and I think you'll find it helps you find perfect balance in everything you do. Principle 7. The middle way. Balance. As you get up from the soft grass, you feel wonderfully relaxed, like your mind has been washed clean by watching the clouds. The monk starts walking again, and you notice the path ahead looks different. Instead of the wide, easy path you've been walking on, this path becomes narrower. Not dangerous, just more focused. On your left side, the ground slopes down into a peaceful valley filled with flowers. On your right side, it slopes up towards some rocky cliffs. The path winds right between them, like a gentle ribbon connecting the two sides. Perfect, says the monk, stopping at the beginning of this narrower path. This is exactly what we need for the seventh secret. He kneels down and picks up something from the ground. It's an old guitar that some traveler must have left behind. One of the strings is broken, hanging loose, but the other strings are still there. Before we walk this special path, the monk says, let me show you something. He plucks one of the guitar strings. It makes no sound at all. It's too loose. Then he starts tightening the tuning peg, making the string tighter and tighter. He plucks it again. This time it makes a sharp, unpleasant sound. And then, snap. The string breaks from being too tight. The monk says with a gentle smile. Too loose doesn't work. Too tight doesn't work either. But watch. He adjusts another string, turning the peg just a little bit at a time. Not too loose, not too tight. When he plucks this string, it makes a beautiful, clear, musical note that seems to float on the evening air. Ah, he says, just right. Not too loose, not too tight. This is the seventh secret, the middle way. He sets the guitar carefully beside the path and starts walking on the narrow trail. Come, he says. Let's walk together, and I'll show you what this means for staying unaffected by life. You start walking on the narrow path. It's not scary at all, just focused. You have to pay attention to where you step, but it's actually quite peaceful. To your left, you can see the beautiful valley with its flowers and gentle streams. To your right, you can see the interesting rocky cliffs with their caves and ledges. This path, the monk says as you walk carefully together, goes right between the extremes, not down in the valley, not up on the cliffs, but right here in the middle. Step by step, you make your way along the balanced path. Most people, the monk continues, live their lives going too far in one direction or another, like guitar strings that are too loose or too tight. When something good happens to them, they get super excited and lose their balance. When something difficult happens, they get very upset and lose their balance the other way. A gentle breeze flows up from the valley on one side and down from the cliffs on the other, meeting right here on the path where you're walking. It feels perfectly comfortable. But people who remain unaffected have learned to walk the middle way, he says. They don't get too excited when good things happen, and they don't get too upset when difficult things happen. They stay balanced, like walking on this path. You come to a slightly tricky part where the path curves around a large boulder. The monk goes first, showing you exactly where to step. Let me give you an example, he says as you carefully follow his steps. Imagine you're taking a test at school. One student might not care at all, too loose, like the broken guitar string. They don't study, they don't try, they don't pay attention. What happens? They probably don't do very well, you say. Exactly. But another student might care too much, too tight, like the string that broke. They worry so much they can't sleep. They study so hard they make themselves sick. They're so afraid of making mistakes that they can't think clearly during the test. What happens to them? They probably don't do very well either, you realize. Right again. But a student walking the middle way does something different. They care about the test. They study and prepare. But they don't worry so much that it makes them sick. They try their best, but they're not so attached to getting a perfect score that they panic. The path opens up a bit here, and walking becomes easier. This is what the middle way looks like, the monk explains. You care, but not too much. You try, but you don't force. You want good things to happen, but you don't need them so desperately that you suffer when they don't happen. You walk in comfortable silence for a few steps, just enjoying the balance of the path. Think about walking on this trail, the monk says. If you lean too far toward the valley side, what happens? I might fall down into the valley. And if you lean too far toward the cliff side, I might fall toward the rocks. But when you walk right here in the middle, balanced and aware, you can enjoy seeing both the beautiful valley and the interesting cliffs while staying safe and peaceful on your own path. A bird flies overhead, moving smoothly and effortlessly through the air. See how that bird flies? The monk points up. Not fighting against the wind, not being blown around by it. Using the wind when it helps, adjusting when it doesn't. Flying the middle way through the sky. You watch the bird soar gracefully until it disappears over the treetops. In everything you do, the monk says softly, look for this balance. When someone makes you angry, don't ignore your feelings completely. That's too loose. But don't let the anger control you completely either. That's too tight. Feel the anger, understand it, but stay balanced. The path starts to widen again as you approach the end of this section. When you want something very much, don't stop wanting it completely. That's too loose. But don't want it so desperately that you suffer. That's too tight. Want it with a balanced heart. You step off the narrow path onto wider ground, and you realize something wonderful. Walking that balanced path didn't feel difficult or scary. It felt peaceful and focused and strong. This is the seventh secret, the monk says with a warm smile. The middle way keeps you balanced no matter what happens, like a tightrope walker who stays calm and steady, or like that guitar string that makes beautiful music because it's tuned just right. He picks up a fallen leaf and balances it perfectly on his finger. Not too much, not too little, not too fast, not too slow, not too worried, not too careless. Just balanced. The leaf stays perfectly balanced on his finger for a moment, then floats gently away on the breeze. Carry this balance with you wherever you go, he says. And now, let's discover the eighth secret. This one is going to teach you how to be your own best friend. Principle 8. Compassion for yourself. As you continue walking, you notice something. You've been walking for a while now, and your legs are starting to feel a little tired. Not painfully tired, just pleasantly tired. The way you feel after a good day of playing outside. You're about to keep walking anyway, not wanting to slow down the monk, when he suddenly stops. You know what? He says, looking around. I think it's time for a rest. My old legs aren't as young as they used to be. There's a perfect resting spot right beside the path. A fallen log that makes a natural bench, surrounded by soft ferns and wildflowers. But teacher, you say, I can keep walking if you want to. The monk sits down on the log and pats the space beside him. Sit with me for a moment, he says gently. This rest is part of the lesson. You sit down beside him. The log is surprisingly comfortable, and it feels so good to rest your legs. Tell me, the monk says, when I said I needed to rest because my legs were tired, what did you think? I thought that was perfectly normal, you say. You've been walking for a long time, and you weren't annoyed with me? You didn't think I was weak or lazy? Of course not, you say. Everyone needs to rest sometimes. The monk smiles warmly. But when you felt tired, what were you going to do? You think about it. I was going to keep walking. I didn't want to bother you. Ah, the monk says softly. So you would give me permission to rest when I'm tired, but you wouldn't give yourself permission to rest when you're tired. Why do you think that is? You're not sure how to answer. You never really thought about it before. This, the monk says gently, brings us to the eighth secret. Most people are much kinder to others than they are to themselves. He reaches down and picks up a clay pot that's sitting beside the log. The pot is beautiful, but you can see it has a crack running down one side. Look at this pot, the monk says. It's cracked. If this pot belonged to your best friend and they felt bad about the crack, what would you tell them? I'd tell them it's still a beautiful pot, you say. The crack doesn't make it worthless. Exactly. You'd be kind and understanding. But if this pot were yours and you felt bad about the crack, what would you probably tell yourself? You think honestly. I'd probably feel bad about it. I might think it was ruined, or that I was careless for letting it get cracked. The monk nods knowingly. This is what most people do. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a good friend. He holds the cracked pot up to catch the evening sunlight. But look what happens when the light shines through the crack. See how it makes a beautiful pattern? The sunlight streaming through the crack creates the most lovely design on the ground, like golden lace made of light. The eighth secret, the monk says softly, is compassion for yourself, treating yourself with the same kindness you would show to someone you love. A butterfly lands on the rim of the cracked pot, as if it's attracted to the beauty of the imperfection. When you make a mistake, the monk continues, instead of saying, "I'm so stupid," try saying, "Everyone makes mistakes. This is how I learn." When you're struggling with something difficult, instead of saying, "I should be stronger," try saying, "This is hard, and it's okay that I'm having trouble with it." When you're tired, like you were just now, instead of pushing yourself beyond your limits, try saying, "It's wise to rest when I need rest." The butterfly flutters away, but not before showing you how even a cracked pot can be a landing place for something beautiful. "Let me tell you the story of this pot," the monk says, settling back more comfortably on the log. This pot belonged to a water carrier who walked the same path every day, bringing water from the well to the village. You can picture this water carrier in your mind. Every day, this pot carried water alongside another pot that was perfect and whole. By the end of the journey, the perfect pot was still full of water. But this cracked pot had leaked half its water along the way. The monk traces the crack with his finger gently. For years, this pot felt ashamed. It thought it was failing, that it was worthless compared to the perfect pot. It spent all its energy feeling bad about its crack. But one day, the monk continues, the pot decided to pay attention to the path it walked every day. And do you know what it discovered? You shake your head, curious. On the side of the path where the perfect pot walked, there was nothing but dry dirt. But on the side where the cracked pot walked, where the water had been leaking all these years, there was the most beautiful garden of wildflowers anyone had ever seen. You look at the pot with new eyes. The water carrier had been planting flower seeds on that side of the path for years, knowing that the cracked pot would water them every day. The crack that the pot thought was its greatest weakness was actually creating something beautiful. The monk sets the pot down gently beside the log. Your imperfections, your struggles, your tired moments, your mistakes. These aren't things to be ashamed of. They're part of what makes you human. They're part of what makes you beautiful. You feel a warm feeling in your chest, like a gentle hug from the inside. People who remain unaffected know this secret, the monk says. They treat themselves with compassion. When they're tired, they rest without guilt. When they make mistakes, they forgive themselves and learn. When they're struggling, they're patient with themselves. A gentle breeze stirs the ferns around you, and everything feels peaceful and accepting. So right now, the monk says softly, I want you to think of something about yourself that you sometimes feel bad about. Maybe something you think is a weakness or a flaw. You think of something quietly. Now, he continues, imagine that thing belonging to someone you love very much. What would you tell them about it? You think about what you'd say to comfort and encourage someone else. Those same kind words, the monk says, are what you should say to yourself. You deserve the same compassion you give to others. You both sit quietly for a moment, just resting and being kind to yourselves for needing this rest. Remember, the monk says as he slowly stands up, you are walking this path of life carrying your own beautiful cracked pot. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to your dearest friend. As you get up from the log, you feel refreshed, not just in your body, but in your heart. The ninth secret, the monk says with a gentle smile, is going to teach you about letting go of worrying about results. This one might surprise you. Principle 9. Non-attachment to outcomes. As you walk away from your rest spot, feeling refreshed and more self-compassionate, you notice the landscape is changing again. You're walking through what looks like a garden area where someone has been growing plants and vegetables. There are neat rows of turned earth, some with small green plants just starting to peek through the soil. Some areas have been recently planted, and others look like they're ready for planting. The monk stops beside a small wooden shed and picks up a packet of seeds and a simple hand tool for digging. "Perfect," he says with a smile. "Would you like to help me plant some seeds? This will teach you the 9th secret." "Of course," you say. Planting seeds sounds peaceful and fun. The monk chooses a spot where the earth looks soft and ready. "Let's plant these flower seeds here," he says, kneeling down in the dirt. You kneel beside him and help dig small holes in the soft earth. The dirt feels cool and rich in your hands, and it smells like rain and growing things. Together, you carefully place the tiny seeds in the holes and cover them gently with soil. The monk shows you how to pat the earth down softly, just enough to keep the seeds safe, but not so much that they can't push through when they're ready to grow. "There," the monk says, brushing the dirt off his hands. "We've done our job well. The seeds are planted in good soil at the right depth, with plenty of room to grow." You look at the patch of earth where you've been working. It looks just like plain dirt, but you know there are seeds under there with the potential to become beautiful flowers. "Now," the monk says, settling back to sit on his heels, "what do you think happens next?" "We wait for them to grow," you say. "Yes, but here's the important question. Can we make them grow faster by worrying about them?" You think about it. "No, I don't think so." "Can we make them grow better by digging them up every day to check on them?" "No, that would probably hurt them." "Can we control exactly when they'll sprout, or how tall they'll grow, or what color the flowers will be?" "No," you realize. "We just have to wait and see." The monk smiles. You've just discovered the 9th secret, non-attachment to outcomes. We do our very best work. We plant the seeds carefully, in good soil, at the right time. But then, we let go of trying to control what happens next. He stands up and brushes more dirt off his robes. "Let me tell you about an archer I once knew," he says as you start walking again. The path leads away from the garden area, toward a grove of tall trees. The evening light is getting softer and more golden. "This archer was the best in his village," the monk begins. "He could hit any target during the day with perfect accuracy. But one evening, he was challenged to show his skill in complete darkness. You can imagine this archer holding his bow and arrow in the dark. The archer couldn't see the target at all. It was too dark. So he did the only thing he could do. He drew his bow, aimed as carefully as possible toward where he knew the target should be, and released the arrow with perfect form. What happened, you ask? He let go of the arrow and went to sleep, the monk says with a chuckle. He didn't stand there worrying about whether he hit the target. He didn't waste energy wondering if he should have aimed differently. He had done his best work with the information he had, and then he let go of the outcome. You're walking through the grove now, and the trees form a peaceful canopy overhead. The next morning, the monk continues, when there was light to see, the archer discovered that his arrow had hit the very center of the target, perfect aim, even in complete darkness. But what if he had missed, you ask? Ah, excellent question, the monk says. If he had missed, he still would have done the right thing. He still would have used his best skill, his best effort, and his best judgment. The missing wouldn't have been a failure. It would have been information to help him improve next time. A gentle evening breeze moves through the trees, making a soft whooshing sound. Most people, the monk explains, make themselves miserable by trying to control outcomes. They plant seeds and then worry constantly about whether the plants will grow. They take tests and then torture themselves wondering about their grades. They try to help someone and then get upset if the person doesn't appreciate their help. You come to a small clearing where the last rays of sunlight are filtering through the trees. But people who remain unaffected have learned this secret, he says. They put all their energy into doing their best work, and then they release their attachment to the results. He picks up a dandelion that has gone to seed, one of those white, fluffy balls that you can blow to scatter the seeds. Look at this, he says, holding up the dandelion. This plant has done its job perfectly. It grew, it flowered, it created seeds. Now watch what it does with those seeds. He blows gently on the dandelion, and dozens of tiny seeds float away on the breeze, each one carried by its own little parachute. The plant doesn't follow each seed to make sure it lands in the right spot, the monk says. It doesn't worry about which ones will grow and which ones won't. It just releases them with love and trust, knowing it has done its part. You watch the seeds float away like tiny wishes on the wind. This is how to live, the monk says softly. Do your best planting. Use your best soil, your best timing, your best care. Then release your worry about the harvest. When you're kind to someone, don't worry about whether they'll be kind back. You've planted kindness. That's what matters. When you work hard on something, don't torture yourself about whether it will turn out perfectly. You've planted effort and care. That's what matters. When you try to help someone, don't get upset if they don't appreciate it the way you hoped. You've planted love. That's what matters. You both stand quietly in the clearing, watching the last few dandelion seeds drift away on the evening breeze. The most peaceful people I know, the monk says, are like gardeners who plant with joy and skill, then sleep peacefully while the seeds do their work underground. He starts walking again, and you fall into step beside him. Your footsteps are soft on the path covered with fallen leaves. Remember our seeds back there, he says. We planted them well, and now they're doing exactly what they need to do, whether we worry about them or not. Our worry can't help them grow, but our trust allows us to be at peace. Your breathing feels calm and relaxed. In and out, in and out, like the rhythm of someone who has done good work and can rest easy. The 10th secret, the monk says as you walk toward whatever comes next, is going to teach you about patience. And I think it might be the most powerful secret of all. Principle 10, patience like a mountain. The path ahead starts to climb gently upward. Not steep or difficult, just a gradual rise that you hardly notice at first. As you walk, you realize you're climbing the side of a small mountain, not a huge, intimidating peak, but a gentle, welcoming hill covered with trees and soft grass. The monk walks slowly, taking his time with each step. There's no hurry in his movement, no rushing toward the top, just steady, peaceful progress. This mountain, he says as you climb together, is going to teach you the 10th secret. But first, let's just enjoy the climbing. Step by step, you make your way up the winding path. The air gets a little cooler and fresher as you climb higher. You can see more of the landscape spreading out below you with each step. Look how far we've come already, the monk says, pausing to rest and look back down the path. You turn and see the garden where you planted seeds, the grove of trees, the meadow where you watched clouds, all spread out below you like a beautiful map of your journey. And look how much farther we still have to go, he says, pointing up toward the gentle summit above. Does that make you feel impatient? He asks. You think about it. Surprisingly, it doesn't. The climbing feels peaceful and right, like this is exactly where you should be right now. Good, the monk says with approval. You're already learning mountain patience. He sits down on a large flat rock that makes a perfect resting spot. You sit beside him, both of you looking out over the view. Tell me, the monk says, how old do you think this mountain is? You look around at the ancient rocks, the deep-rooted trees, the worn but solid paths. Very old, you say. Maybe thousands of years? Much older than that, the monk says. This mountain has been here for millions and millions of years. It was here before your great-great-great-grandparents were born. It will probably be here long after your great-great-great-grandchildren are old. A gentle wind moves through the trees around you, making a peaceful sound. In all that time, the monk continues, this mountain has seen countless storms, harsh winters with deep snow and bitter cold, hot summers with no rain for months, fierce winds that could blow down trees. He places his hand on the solid rock beneath you. But through all of that, the mountain doesn't get angry at the storms. It doesn't try to rush the seasons. It doesn't complain when winter lasts too long or when summer gets too hot. It just remains patient, solid, unchanging in its deep peace. You feel the solidness of the rock supporting you, and you start to understand. The 10th secret, the monk says softly, is patience like a mountain. Not the impatient kind of waiting where you're frustrated and eager and checking the clock every minute, but the deep, peaceful patience that knows everything happens in its own right time. A bird lands on a branch near you, then flies away when it's ready. No hurry, no delay. Think about our seeds back there, the monk says. Could we make them grow faster by being impatient? Could we stand over them, tapping our foot, saying, "Hurry up, grow faster"? Would that help? You laugh softly. No, that would just make us frustrated. The seeds will grow when they're ready. Exactly. And think about yourself learning these 10 secrets. Could you become wise overnight just by being impatient? Could you master inner peace by next Tuesday just because you want to? No, you realize. Wisdom takes time to grow, like the seeds. The monk nods. Everything good takes time. A flower doesn't apologize for taking weeks to bloom. A tree doesn't feel bad for taking years to grow tall. The mountain doesn't feel slow for taking millions of years to reach its full height. He stands up slowly and continues up the path. You walk beside him, and you notice something wonderful. The slow, patient climbing feels much more peaceful than if you had been rushing to reach the top. People who remain unaffected have mountain patience, he explains as you climb. When they're learning something new, they don't get frustrated that they're not perfect immediately. When they're waiting for something good to happen, they don't waste energy being impatient. When someone they love is having problems, they don't try to rush their healing. The path curves around a bend, and you can see you're getting close to the top of the gentle mountain. Let me tell you about the mountain and the seasons, the monk says. Every year, winter comes to this mountain. The trees lose their leaves, the flowers disappear, everything looks dead and frozen. You can imagine how different this peaceful green mountain would look covered in snow. Some people might look at the winter mountain and think, "This is terrible. All the beauty is gone." The mountain should do something about this right away. But the mountain knows something these people don't know, he continues. The mountain knows that winter is not the end of beauty. It's just a different kind of beauty. And more importantly, winter is preparing the way for spring. You're almost at the top now. Just a few more steps. The cold breaks down old leaves to make rich soil. The snow provides water for next year's growth. The rest time allows the trees to gather energy for new leaves and flowers. You reach the summit, and the view is breathtaking. You can see for miles in every direction. Rolling hills, peaceful valleys, winding rivers, all bathed in the golden light of sunset. People who have mountain patience know that difficult times are like winter, the monk says. Not permanent, not punishment, just a different season that serves its own purpose in the larger cycle of growth. You both sit down on the soft grass at the very top of the mountain. The view is so beautiful and the sense of peace so deep that you feel you could sit here forever. When you're going through a difficult time, the monk says gently, remember this mountain. Remember how patient it is through all its seasons. Remember that it doesn't try to rush winter into spring or spring into summer. A gentle breeze flows across the mountaintop, carrying the sweet scent of wildflowers. Be patient with your own growth. Be patient with your learning. Be patient with other people's growth too. Everything unfolds in its own perfect time, just like these seeds we planted will bloom when they're ready. The sun is getting lower now, and the whole world below is painted in shades of gold and orange and soft purple. Mountain patience, the monk says softly, is not about waiting with gritted teeth. It's about resting in the knowledge that all good things grow in their own season. It's about enjoying the journey, not just rushing toward the destination. You sit quietly together as the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. Your breathing is slow and peaceful, in and out, in and out, like the mountain itself breathing with the eternal rhythm of the seasons. These 10 secrets we've learned, the monk says as you rest in perfect peace on the mountaintop, are the foundation of staying unaffected. Like roots of a great tree, they'll keep you stable through any storm. The night is coming, gentle and soft, and you feel more peaceful than you've ever felt in your life. Part 3. Wisdom Principles. Principle 11. See the bigger picture. As you sit on the peaceful mountaintop with the monk, watching the stars begin to twinkle in the darkening sky, you feel completely relaxed and content. The 10 secrets you've learned so far seem to be settling into your heart like seeds taking root in rich soil. Look, the monk says softly, pointing up at the sky. Do you see how many stars are appearing now that the sun has set? You look up and gasp. The sky is filling with more stars than you've ever seen before. Hundreds, thousands of tiny lights scattered across the dark canvas of night. From down in the valley, the monk says, you can only see a few of the brightest stars. But up here on the mountain, we can see the whole magnificent display. A shooting star streaks across the sky, leaving a brief trail of light. This, the monk says with a gentle smile, is going to teach you the 11th secret, seeing the bigger picture. He stands up slowly and walks to the edge of the mountaintop where you can see the farthest. You join him there, looking out over the vast landscape spread below you. Remember when we were down by the river learning about change? He asks. You can see the river far below, a silver ribbon winding through the darkness. From down there, the river seemed like the most important thing in the world. We couldn't see past the trees on either side. We couldn't see where it came from or where it was going. But from up here, he continues, we can see the whole river's journey. We can see how it starts in the mountains, flows through forests and meadows, and eventually joins with other rivers to flow toward the sea. You trace the path of the river with your eyes, seeing its complete journey for the first time. Most people, the monk explains, live their whole lives down in the valley, seeing only the small piece of the river right in front of them. When something difficult happens, it feels huge and overwhelming because they can't see the bigger picture. He sits down on the soft grass, and you sit beside him, still looking out over the vast view. Let me tell you about a wise old owl I once knew, the monk begins. This owl lived in a tall tree at the edge of a forest. Every day, she would watch the animals below going about their lives. You can picture this wise owl in your mind, sitting high in her tree. One day, a little rabbit came running through the forest, panicked and terrified. "Help me!" the rabbit cried. "There's a terrible monster chasing me. It has huge feet and makes awful crashing sounds. I'm going to die." The owl looked down from her high perch and said gently, "Little rabbit, I can see what's chasing you. It's not a monster. It's just a deer running to find water. The deer doesn't even know you're there." The monk pauses to let you imagine this scene. But the rabbit couldn't see this from ground level. All the rabbit could see were the big hooves and hear the loud crashing through the bushes. The rabbit's view was too small to understand what was really happening. A gentle night breeze moves across the mountaintop, carrying the scent of pine trees and wildflowers. The 11th secret, the monk says softly, is learning to be like that owl. When something seems scary or overwhelming, we step back and try to see the bigger picture. What looks like a disaster when you're right in the middle of it often looks very different when you can see the whole situation. You think about times when something seemed terrible at first, but turned out okay in the end. I remember, the monk continues, when I was young, I desperately wanted to be chosen for a special job at the monastery. When someone else was chosen instead, I felt crushed. It seemed like the end of the world. But years later, I realized that not getting that job led me to a different path. The path that eventually brought me here to these mountains, where I've been happier than I ever imagined possible. A night bird calls softly from somewhere in the darkness below. From up close, not getting the job looked like failure, but from the bigger picture, it was actually life guiding me towards something better. He lies back on the grass and looks up at the stars. You lie down beside him, and the star-filled sky stretches endlessly above you. When you're facing a problem that seems huge, the monk says, imagine floating up like a balloon until you can see your whole life spread out below you, like we can see this whole landscape from up here. Ask yourself, how will this problem look in a month, in a year, in 10 years? Often, you'll realize it's much smaller than it seemed when you were right in the middle of it. The stars seem to twinkle more brightly as you watch them. People who remain unaffected have learned to zoom out, like switching from looking through a magnifying glass to looking through binoculars. They can see how their current challenge fits into the larger story of their life. A warm feeling spreads through your chest as you realize how much bigger and more beautiful life is than just the small problems that sometimes seem so important. Remember, the monk says gently, you are not just the little rabbit running through the forest. You are also the wise owl who can fly high enough to see the truth. Whenever something feels overwhelming, Climb up to your inner mountaintop and look at it from the bigger perspective. You both lie quietly, breathing in the peace of the wide view and the starry sky. In and out. In and out. Feeling connected to something vast and beautiful. The 12th secret, the monk says softly, is going to fill your heart with so much richness that nothing will be able to make you feel poor or lacking ever again. Principle 12. Practice gratitude. As you lie on your back, looking up at the countless stars, the monk sits up slowly and reaches into a small pouch tied to his belt. He pulls out what looks like a collection of small, smooth stones that gleam softly in the starlight. "I want to show you my most precious treasure," he says, settling the stones on the grass between you. You sit up to look more closely. The stones are beautiful. Some are white like moonlight. Others are deep blue like the night sky, and some shimmer with colors that change as they catch the light. "These look valuable," you say. The monk chuckles gently. "They're the most valuable things I own, but not for the reason you might think. Let me tell you about each one." He picks up a white stone that gleams like a pearl. "This stone represents the day I first tasted water when I was really, really thirsty. I was walking in the desert, my throat was dry as sand, and I thought I might not make it. Then I found a small spring, and that first sip of cool water was the most delicious thing I'd ever experienced." He sets the white stone down carefully and picks up a golden one. "This one represents the first time I made a friend. I was lonely and shy, and I thought no one would ever want to be my friend. Then one day, a kind person smiled at me and asked if I wanted to share lunch. That simple kindness changed my whole life." You're starting to understand something special about these stones. "And this blue one," he continues, holding up a stone the color of a deep lake, "represents every night I've had a safe, warm place to sleep. Some people might think that's nothing special, but I've spent nights in the rain and cold, so I never take a comfortable bed for granted." He gestures to all the stones scattered on the grass. "I have stones for the first time I saw a sunrise, for the day I learned to read, for every meal that filled my hungry stomach, for every person who was kind to me, for every day my body was healthy and strong." The monk picks up one more stone. This one seems to contain tiny stars that sparkle in its depths. "And this one," he says with the warmest smile, "represents tonight. Meeting you, walking together, sharing these secrets under the stars. This very moment is so beautiful that it deserves its own special stone." You feel a warm glow in your chest as you realize what he's showing you. "This is the 12th secret," the monk says softly. "Practice gratitude, not just saying thank you when something good happens, but really noticing and treasuring the gifts that are all around us every day." He begins gathering his stones back into the pouch, each one carefully placed like the precious treasure it is. "Most people," he explains, "spend so much time thinking about what they don't have that they forget to notice what they do have. They want a bigger house and forget to appreciate that they have a roof over their heads. They want fancier food and forget to be grateful that they have enough to eat. A gentle breeze stirs the grass around you, and you notice how soft and comfortable it feels. But people who remain unaffected have learned this secret," the monk continues. "They collect moments of gratitude like I collect these stones. Every day, they find things to appreciate." He invites you to lie back down and look up at the stars again. "Let's practice right now," he says. "What are 3 things you're grateful for in this very moment?" You think about it. I'm grateful for how peaceful I feel. I'm grateful for your kind teaching. And I'm grateful for all these beautiful stars. Perfect, the monk says. Feel how those grateful thoughts make your heart feel. You do feel it, a warm, rich feeling, like your heart is filling up with golden light. Now think of something you're grateful for from earlier today, before our walk began. You think of something good that happened today, and something from this past week that made you happy. Another grateful memory comes to mind. Do you feel how your heart keeps getting warmer and fuller? The monk asks. You do. It's like each grateful thought is adding another glowing coal to a fire in your chest. This is the magic of gratitude, the monk explains. The more you practice it, the richer you feel. You could have very little money, but feel wealthy because you're rich in appreciation. You could face difficulties, but still feel blessed because you can see the gifts hidden everywhere. A shooting star streaks across the sky, and you both watch it in grateful silence. I once knew a woman who had very little, the monk continues. Her house was small, her clothes were old, she didn't have many possessions, but she was the happiest person I ever met. Why, you ask? Because she had trained herself to notice miracles. She was grateful for the way morning light came through her window. She appreciated the sound of rain on her roof. She felt thankful for every friend, every good meal, every day her body felt healthy. She would say, I am so rich. Look at all these treasures I have. And she truly felt rich because she had learned to see the abundance that was all around her. The stars seem to shine more brightly as you listen, as if the universe itself is happy to be appreciated. Every night before sleep, the monk says softly, make a practice of counting your blessings like I count these stones. Not just the big obvious ones, but the small, everyday miracles too. The air you breathe, the fact that your heart beats without you having to think about it, the comfortable temperature of the evening, the way your body knows how to heal itself when you get a small cut, the miracle that your eyes can see these stars. Your breathing becomes slower and deeper as you practice feeling grateful. In and out, in and out. Each breath feeling like a gift you've never fully appreciated before. When you live in gratitude, the monk says very gently, nothing can make you feel truly poor or deprived. You become unshakable because you realize how rich you already are. Difficult things may still happen, but they can't take away your appreciation for all the good things. Problems may arise, but they can't steal your ability to feel grateful for everything that's going right. A peaceful silence settles over the mountaintop as you both lie there, hearts full of gratitude, surrounded by the vast gift of the starry night. The 13th secret, the monk whispers, is going to show you the power that comes from true inner quiet. Are you ready for something very special? Principle 13. Embrace silence. The monk doesn't speak for a while after mentioning the 13th secret. You both just lie there on the soft grass, looking up at the infinite stars, breathing quietly together. At first, you wonder if he's forgotten to continue the lesson, but then you start to notice something beautiful happening in the silence. Without words filling your mind, you become aware of sounds you hadn't noticed before. The gentle whisper of wind through the grass, the soft hoot of an owl somewhere in the valley below, the quiet rustle of a small animal moving through the trees, your own heartbeat, steady and peaceful. The silence isn't empty. It's full of subtle music you can only hear when you stop talking and start listening. After several minutes of this peaceful quiet, the monk speaks very softly, almost in a whisper. "Do you hear that?" he asks. "What?" you whisper back. "The silence," he says. "Listen to how full it is." You listen more carefully, and you realize he's right. The silence isn't nothing. It's everything. It's the space that holds all the gentle sounds. It's the pause between your heartbeats. It's the stillness that makes movement possible. The 13th secret, the monk says in the quietest voice, is to embrace silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of deep peace. He sits up slowly, moving so smoothly that he barely disturbs the quiet around you. Most people, he continues in his gentle whisper, are afraid of silence. They fill every moment with talking or music or thoughts or activities. They never give themselves the gift of true quiet. You sit up too, noticing how the silence seems to amplify even the smallest sounds, the soft rustle of your clothes, the gentle sound of your breathing. This is not the silence of being scared or defeated, he explains. This is the silence of being so centered and peaceful that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. He lies back down on the grass and invites you to join him. "Let's practice the deepest kind of silence," he says. "For the next few minutes, let's not just be quiet on the outside, but let's find the silence within silence. Close your eyes," he whispers, "and listen to the quiet space between your thoughts. Listen to the stillness between your heartbeats. Find the peaceful pause between your in-breath and your out-breath." You close your eyes and sink into the deepest quiet you've ever experienced. Your breathing becomes so soft it's almost like not breathing at all. Your heartbeat seems to slow down and become very gentle. In this profound silence, you find something amazing. A sense of being completely safe and at home in yourself. No need to defend, no need to prove anything, no need to fill the space with noise or activity. Time seems to flow differently in this deep quiet. You might have been silent for minutes or hours. It doesn't matter. There's no hurry, no impatience, just perfect contentment in the stillness. Eventually, the monk's whisper brings you back. This silence you found is always available to you. No matter how noisy the world gets, you can always return to this inner quiet. When people are arguing around you, you can find this silence and stay peaceful. When your mind gets busy with worries, you can sink into this stillness and find clarity. When you feel overwhelmed, you can rest in this quiet space and remember who you really are. You open your eyes slowly, feeling refreshed and deeply peaceful. The stars above seem to be twinkling in approval of your journey into silence. People think silence is empty, the monk says with a gentle smile. But you've just discovered that it's actually full of peace, full of wisdom, full of your own true nature. A comfortable quiet settles over you both as you rest in the power of what you've just experienced. The 14th secret, the monk eventually whispers, is going to teach you something that might seem impossible at first, but is actually the most natural thing in the world. Principle 14. Accept what is. The monk sits up slowly and points towards something you hadn't noticed before. A small lake nestled in the valley below, its surface perfectly smooth and mirror-like in the starlight. "Do you see that lake?" he asks softly. You follow his gaze and see the beautiful still water reflecting the stars like a mirror made of liquid silver. "Let's visit it," the monk says. "The 14th secret is waiting for us there." You both rise and begin walking down a gentle path that winds down from the mountaintop toward the lake. Your footsteps are soft and quiet on the smooth earth, and you notice how peaceful it feels to walk in comfortable silence with your wise teacher. As you get closer to the lake, you can see how perfectly still the water is. Not a single ripple disturbs its surface. It's like looking at a perfect mirror that reflects the stars, the surrounding trees, and the gentle hills with absolute clarity. The monk settles down on the soft grass at the water's edge, and you sit beside him. The lake is even more beautiful up close, so still it almost doesn't look like water at all. "Tell me," the monk says quietly, "what do you notice about this lake?" You look carefully. It's perfectly calm, like glass, and it reflects everything exactly as it is. "Exactly," the monk says with approval. The lake doesn't try to change what it reflects. When a beautiful swan lands on the water, the lake reflects the swan perfectly. When storm clouds pass overhead, the lake reflects the storm clouds perfectly. When stars shine above, the lake shows the stars exactly as they are. A gentle night breeze stirs the air around you, but somehow the surface of the lake remains completely still. The lake never says, "I don't want to reflect those storm clouds. They're too dark." It never says, "I only want to reflect beautiful things." It simply accepts whatever is there and mirrors it with perfect clarity. The monk picks up a smooth stone from the shore. "Watch what happens when I drop this stone into the lake." He tosses the stone gently into the center of the lake. The stone disappears with a soft plop, and circular ripples spread out from where it fell. The perfect mirror is disturbed. The reflections become wavy and unclear. Now the lake has a choice, the monk says. It can fight against these ripples, trying to force itself back to stillness. Or it can simply accept that right now, this is what's happening. You both watch as the ripples gradually get smaller and smaller. Without any effort or struggle, the lake naturally returns to perfect stillness. Soon, the reflections are clear again, and the surface is like glass once more. The 14th secret, the monk says gently, is to accept what is. Like this lake, we can learn to accept whatever happens without fighting against it. Knowing that acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means finding peace within whatever situation we're in. A night bird flies low over the lake, and its perfect reflection flies along beneath it in the still water. Most people spend enormous amounts of energy fighting against things they cannot change, the monk explains. They resist what has already happened. They argue with reality. If it's raining, they get angry at the rain instead of accepting that right now. It's raining and finding peace within that reality. If someone they love is sad, they exhaust themselves trying to force that person to be happy instead of accepting that right now, their loved one is going through sadness. You think about times when you fought against things you couldn't change, and you realize how much energy that took. But people who remain unaffected have learned this secret, the monk continues. They accept what is, not because they like everything that happens, but because they understand that acceptance is the only path to peace. He gestures to the perfectly still lake. This doesn't mean being passive or never trying to improve things. The lake accepts the stone being thrown into it, but it also naturally returns to stillness when it can. Acceptance means dealing with reality as it actually is, not as we wish it were. From that place of accepting what is, we can take wise action if action is needed. A gentle breeze moves through the trees around the lake, but the water remains perfectly calm. Let me tell you about a tree I once knew, the monk says. This tree grew in a place where strong winds blew almost constantly. Many other trees in that area broke or fell over because they fought against the wind, staying rigid and trying to resist. You can imagine this lonely tree facing the endless wind. But this particular tree learned something wise. Instead of fighting the wind, it learned to bend with it. When the wind blew from the east, the tree gracefully leaned west. When the wind shifted and blew from the north, the tree flowed south. The tree didn't like the wind. It would have preferred calm weather. But it accepted that in this location, wind was part of life. By accepting this reality and learning to flow with it instead of fighting against it, the tree became stronger and more flexible than trees that grew in sheltered places. The lake continues to mirror the stars with perfect acceptance. This is what acceptance looks like, the monk says softly. When someone is rude to you, you accept that this person is being rude right now. You don't waste energy being shocked or outraged that rudeness exists in the world. From that place of acceptance, you can decide how to respond wisely. When you make a mistake, you accept that the mistake happened instead of torturing yourself with, "If only I had." From accepting the reality of the mistake, you can learn from it and do better next time. When you're facing a difficult situation, you accept that this is what you're dealing with right now instead of exhausting yourself wishing things were different. From that acceptance, you can find the strength and wisdom to handle it skillfully. You both sit quietly, watching the lake demonstrate perfect acceptance. No matter what appears in its reflection, the lake remains peaceful and clear. "The most peaceful people I know," the monk says very softly, "are like this lake. They've learned to accept what is without losing their inner stillness. They understand that fighting against reality is like fighting against the wind. It only exhausts you and doesn't change anything. A shooting star streaks across the sky, and its brief light is perfectly reflected in the still water below. Right now," the monk says, "practice acceptance with this very moment. Accept that you're sitting by a lake with an old monk under the stars. Accept how your body feels, how the grass feels beneath you, how peaceful or restless your mind might be. Just let this moment be exactly what it is." You take a deep breath and practice accepting everything about this moment exactly as it is. There's something profoundly peaceful about stopping the inner argument with reality. This acceptance you're feeling, the monk says, this is your natural state. When you stop fighting what is, you discover the deep peace that was always there underneath the struggle. The lake continues its perfect demonstration of acceptance, reflecting the world with crystal clarity, disturbed by nothing, at peace with everything. The 15th secret, the monk says as you rest in this profound acceptance, is going to show you how to cultivate the kind of inner peace that no external storm can ever disturb. Principle 15. Cultivate inner peace. As you sit peacefully by the still lake, perfectly accepting this beautiful moment, the monk stands up slowly and walks to a part of the shoreline where you hadn't noticed something remarkable before. There, nestled among some rocks and flowering bushes, is a small, perfectly circular garden. Even in the starlight, you can see that it's incredibly beautiful, filled with flowers that seem to glow softly in the darkness, herbs that fill the air with gentle fragrances, and paths made of smooth white stones that catch and reflect the moonlight. "Come," the monk says with a gentle smile. "I want to show you something very special." You walk over to the little garden, and as you get closer, you realize something amazing about it. While the night air around the lake is cool, the air in this garden is perfectly warm and comfortable. While there was a breeze by the lake, here the air is perfectly still. the garden seems to exist in its own peaceful microclimate. This garden, the monk says as you step onto one of the soft paths, has been here for many, many years. I planted it long ago, and I've been tending it ever since. You walk slowly through the garden paths together, and everywhere you look, there's something beautiful. Flowers that bloom even at night, releasing sweet perfumes. A small fountain that bubbles quietly, making the most soothing sound. Soft benches placed perfectly for rest and contemplation. I've seen storms rage around this garden, the monk says, settling onto one of the comfortable benches. I've seen harsh winters cover it with snow and blazing summers try to scorch it. But no matter what weather comes, the garden remains peaceful. You sit beside him, surrounded by the gentle beauty and perfect peace of this special place. This garden, he continues, is like the inner peace that you can cultivate in your own heart. Once you plant it and tend it carefully, nothing external can destroy it. A night-blooming flower nearby releases a wave of the most beautiful fragrance, like jasmine mixed with something even sweeter. The 15th secret, the monk says softly, is to cultivate inner peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on everything in your life going perfectly, but the deep, unshakable peace that remains calm no matter what storms might be raging outside. He gestures to the beautiful garden around you. How do you think this garden stays so peaceful and protected? You look around, taking in all the details. It seems like you've created it very carefully, like you chose each plant and placed each stone with love. Exactly, the monk says with approval. Inner peace isn't something that just happens by accident. It's something you cultivate day by day, choice by choice, like tending a garden. A gentle fountain bubbles nearby, its sound perfectly calibrated to soothe rather than distract. Let me show you how to plant your own inner garden, the monk says. First, you choose what to plant there. Just like I chose beautiful, peaceful plants for this garden, you choose beautiful, peaceful thoughts for your inner garden. He points to a section of the garden filled with flowers that seem to glow with their own inner light. These represent thoughts of kindness. Every time you choose to think kindly about someone, even someone who has been difficult, you're planting one of these flowers in your inner garden. And these, he says, indicating some herbs that smell wonderfully calming, represent thoughts of gratitude. Every time you appreciate something in your life, you're planting these herbs of thankfulness. A small butterfly, somehow active even at night, flutters from flower to flower. Over there, the monk continues, are the plants of compassion for yourself and others, and those are the flowers of acceptance. That whole section represents forgiveness. Notice how those plants seem to glow with healing light. You can see how each section of the garden represents different aspects of inner peace. But gardens also need protection from weeds, the monk says. You have to be careful what you allow to grow in your inner space. He walks you to the edge of the garden where you can see a clear boundary, a low wall made of smooth stones that somehow keeps out any harsh or chaotic energy from outside. This wall represents your choice about what thoughts you'll entertain and what thoughts you'll gently turn away, he explains. Not in a harsh way, not fighting with negative thoughts, but simply choosing not to feed them or give them space to grow. When a worried thought comes, you don't have to plant it in your inner garden. When an angry thought appears, you don't have to water it and help it grow. You can acknowledge these thoughts and then choose to focus on the beautiful plants you want to cultivate instead. You walk back toward the center of the garden. where a small, perfect circle of the softest grass makes a natural meditation spot. The most important part, the monk says as you both sit on the soft grass, is spending time in your inner garden every day. Just like this physical garden needs daily attention, your inner peace needs daily cultivation. You close your eyes and imagine your own inner garden beginning to grow. Every morning when you wake up, the monk says softly, you can visit your inner garden. You can water the plants of gratitude by thinking of things you're thankful for. You can tend the flowers of kindness by sending good wishes to people you'll meet that day. Every evening before sleep, you can walk through your inner garden and appreciate how it's growing. You can forgive any mistakes you made that day, clearing out any weeds. You can plant seeds of intention for tomorrow. The peace in this physical garden seems to be seeping into your very bones, showing you what it feels like to have this kind of inner sanctuary. When difficult things happen in your outer life, the monk continues, you can retreat to your inner garden. No matter how chaotic things become around you, this peaceful place inside you remains safe and calm. People might be arguing, but your inner garden is still peaceful. Your circumstances might be challenging, but your inner garden is still beautiful. External storms might rage, but your inner garden is still protected and serene. You take a slow, deep breath, and it feels like breathing in the peace of this garden and making it part of yourself. People who remain truly unaffected, the monk says very gently, are people who have learned to cultivate this inner peace. They carry their garden with them wherever they go. They can find perfect calm in the middle of chaos because they've built a sanctuary inside themselves that no external force can disturb. The fountain continues its gentle bubbling, and the night-blooming flowers continue releasing their sweet fragrances. This inner garden, the monk says, becomes stronger with time and attention. The more you tend it, the more beautiful and peaceful it becomes. Eventually, you'll find that you can access this deep peace instantly, just by turning your attention inward to the sanctuary you've built. You sit together in perfect peace, surrounded by the physical demonstration of what inner peace can look like when it's carefully cultivated and tenderly maintained. We've learned 15 secrets so far, the monk says softly, and each one has been like planting a different type of flower in your inner garden. Soon we'll learn the final 5 secrets, the most advanced and powerful teachings for remaining completely unaffected by anything life can bring. Part 4. Advanced Practices. Principle 16. See unity in everything. As you sit peacefully in the monk's beautiful inner garden, surrounded by the gentle fragrance of night-blooming flowers and the soft sound of the bubbling fountain, you notice something extraordinary beginning to happen. The longer you rest in this deep peace, the more connected you feel to everything around you. The boundary between where you end and the garden begins seems to be dissolving softly. You can almost feel the quiet contentment of the flowers, the patient strength of the stones, the joyful music of the little fountain. Do you feel that? The monk asks, very softly, his voice blending with the gentle sounds of the night. You nod, not quite sure how to put the feeling into words. You're beginning to experience the 16th secret, he says with the warmest smile. Come, let me show you something that will help you understand. He stands slowly and walks to the far edge of the garden, where something catches the starlight like scattered diamonds. As you get closer, you see it's the most intricate spider's web you've ever seen, perfectly suspended between 2 flowering bushes, covered in tiny dewdrops that sparkle like jewels. Look at this miracle, the monk whispers. and you both kneel down to examine the web more closely. The web is breathtakingly beautiful. Every strand is perfectly placed, creating a geometric pattern that seems to contain all the mathematical secrets of the universe. The dewdrops catch and reflect the starlight, making the entire web shimmer like it's made of liquid silver and captured light. See how each dewdrop is separate and individual, the monk says softly, pointing to one particular drop that hangs like a tiny crystal. This dewdrop is completely itself, unique in size, position, and the way it reflects light. You focus on that one drop, seeing how special and distinct it is. But now, the monk continues, see how that same dewdrop is also completely connected to every other dewdrop on the web. They're all part of the same web, all catching the same starlight, all made of the same water from the same evening mist. As your eyes adjust to see the whole web instead of just one part, you realize he's absolutely right. Each drop is both completely individual and completely connected. And the web itself, the monk says, his voice becoming even softer and more mystical, is connected to the bushes that hold it. The bushes are connected to the soil to the earth to the sky to the stars. A gentle breeze stirs the web, making all the dewdrops dance together in perfect harmony. None moves alone. When one moves, they all move together. The 16th secret, the monk says, is to see unity in everything, to understand that although we appear separate, like individual dewdrops, we are all part of the same vast web of existence. He sits down beside the web, and you sit with him, both of you mesmerized by its beauty. Most people go through life feeling separate and alone, he explains. They see themselves as one dewdrop, isolated and unconnected to anything else. When something happens to another person, they think it has nothing to do with them. When nature is harmed, they don't feel it in their own hearts. A night bird calls softly from somewhere in the darkness, and its mate answers from across the lake. Two separate voices creating one song. But people who remain truly unaffected have discovered this profound secret, the monk continues. They see that hurting others is like one dewdrop trying to harm another dewdrop on the same web. Impossible, because they're all connected. They understand that healing others is like healing themselves, because there's no true separation. As you watch the web, you begin to see connections everywhere. The flowers in the garden are connected to the earth that feeds them, which is connected to the rain that nourished it, which is connected to the ocean that provided the water, which is connected to the sun that lifted it into clouds. When someone is mean to you, the monk says softly, and you remember this unity, you realize they're not truly separate from you. They're another dewdrop on the same web. Their meanness comes from forgetting this connection, from feeling isolated and alone. Instead of being hurt by them, you can feel compassion for their forgetting. A gentle breeze moves through the garden, and you can feel how it touches every plant, every flower, every blade of grass at once. One wind connecting everything. Let me tell you about the river and the ocean, the monk says, his voice taking on the rhythm of water flowing. A river might think it's separate from the ocean. It might worry about what will happen when it reaches the sea. Will it lose itself? Will it disappear? You can imagine this worried river flowing toward the unknown ocean. But when the river finally reaches the ocean, what happens? Does it disappear? You think about it. No, it becomes part of the ocean. It becomes bigger, not smaller. Exactly. the river discovers that it was never separate from the ocean at all. It was always made of the same water, always flowing back to its source, always part of the same vast wholeness. The monk picks up a small pebble from the garden path and drops it into a small pool near the fountain. Circular ripples spread out from where it fell. See how the ripples spread out and touch every part of the pool? When you do something kind, those ripples of kindness spread through the web of connection and touch lives you may never even know about. When you find peace in your own heart, that peace ripples out and makes the whole web a little more peaceful. When you choose love instead of fear, that choice strengthens the love in the entire universe. You watch the ripples gradually fade as the water becomes still again, but you understand that the effect of the pebble has touched every part of the pool. This is why people who understand unity remain unaffected by apparent separation or conflict, the monk explains. They know that at the deepest level, there is only one life living itself through billions of forms, one consciousness looking out through countless pairs of eyes, one love expressing itself in infinite ways. A shooting star streaks across the sky, and its light seems to connect heaven and earth for that brief, magical moment. When you truly see this unity, the monk says very softly, you can never feel completely alone again. The stars are your distant relatives. The trees are your quiet companions. Every person you meet is another face of the same mystery that you are. You become unaffected by the illusion of separation because you know the deeper truth of connection. You remain peaceful in conflicts because you see that everyone involved is part of the same web, just playing different roles in the same eternal dance. You both sit in wonder, watching the jeweled web catch starlight, each dewdrop reflecting the infinite sky while remaining perfectly connected to all the others. Rest in this understanding, the monk whispers. Feel your connection to the garden around you, to the lake beyond, to the mountains in the distance, to the stars overhead. Feel how you are both completely yourself and completely part of everything else. Your breathing becomes very soft and gentle, in harmony with the breathing of the entire night. In and out, in and out, connected to all life through the simple sharing of the same air, the same peace, the same infinite mystery. The 17th secret, the monk says so softly his voice seems to come from the stars themselves, is going to teach you about the power of words and the even greater power of choosing them wisely. Principle 17. Practice right speech. As you rest in the profound feeling of connection with everything, the monk rises quietly and walks toward a part of the garden you haven't explored yet. Following him, you discover a small canyon that opens up just beyond the garden, a natural formation where the earth dips down between two gentle hills. Listen, the monk says as you stand at the edge of this small canyon. He calls out softly into the darkness, peace. A moment later, his word comes echoing back, peace, 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 getting softer each time until it fades into silence. Then he calls out, love. And again, the echo returns, love, 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 bouncing gently off the canyon walls before dissolving into the quiet night. Beautiful, the monk says with a gentle smile. This canyon is going to teach you the 17th secret. He sits down on a smooth boulder at the canyon's edge, and you join him. The night is so quiet that you can hear the faint echo of your own breathing reflected back from the distant walls. Every word you speak, the monk begins softly, is like a stone thrown into this canyon. It goes out into the world and comes echoing back to you, usually in ways you don't expect. He picks up a small pebble and tosses it gently into the canyon. You hear it bounce off the walls several times. Click, 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 before finally settling into silence. The 17th secret, he says, is practice right speech. This means being very careful about the words you send out into the world, because they will always find their way back to you. A gentle breeze moves through the canyon, creating a soft musical sound as it flows over the rock formations. Most people speak without thinking about this echo effect, the monk continues. They throw words around carelessly, harsh words, careless words, untrue words, unkind words. Then they wonder why their life feels full of harshness and unkindness. He demonstrates by calling out sharply, "Anger!" The word comes echoing back, harsh and jarring. "Anger! Anger! Anger!" The sound feels uncomfortable, disturbing the peaceful night. Hear how different that felt? The monk asks. The canyon doesn't judge what we call into it. It simply returns what we give it. But we can choose what we want to echo back to us. He calls out gently, "Kindness." And the soft echo returns. Kindness, kindness, kindness. Like a blessing floating back on the night air. Right speech, the monk explains, has 3 simple guidelines. Before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? A night bird calls from somewhere in the canyon, and its call echoes beautifully, as if even nature is demonstrating the principle. Let me give you an example, the monk says. Imagine your friend is wearing a new shirt, and you think it looks terrible. Your first impulse might be to say, "That shirt is ugly." But before speaking, you ask, "Is it true?" Well, maybe you don't like it, but that's just your opinion, not an absolute truth. Is it kind? No. Calling someone's shirt ugly would hurt their feelings. Is it helpful? Not really. They're already wearing the shirt, and making them feel bad about it doesn't help anyone. The monk picks up another pebble, but this time he holds it thoughtfully instead of throwing it. So instead, you might choose to say nothing, or you might find something genuinely kind to say, like, "You look happy today," or "I like how confident you seem." These words are true, kind, and helpful. He sets the pebble down gently instead of throwing it, showing how sometimes the wisest choice is not to speak at all. People who remain unaffected understand this deeply. He continues. They know that their words create their world. They speak carefully, like gardeners planting seeds, because they know their words will grow into the experiences they'll have later. A gentle echo drifts up from the canyon, not from anything you said, but from some distant sound being reflected back. It reminds you that echoes happen whether you're paying attention or not. I once knew a woman who practiced right speech so perfectly that people loved being around her, the monk says. Not because she said only pleasant things, but because every word she spoke was clearly true, genuinely kind, and truly helpful. When she had to give difficult news, people trusted her because they knew she wouldn't sugarcoat the truth. When she offered compliments, people believed them because they knew she only spoke what she really meant. When she gave advice, people listened because they knew she only offered help that would truly benefit them. The canyon seems to be listening to this story, holding it gently in its quiet depths. But right speech isn't just about talking to other people, the monk continues. It's also about how you speak to yourself. He calls into the canyon, "I am learning." The echo comes back warmly. "I am learning, learning, learning." If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm stupid," or "I can't do anything right," those words echo back to you and become your reality. But if you speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend, those words of encouragement echo back and lift you up. You think about the voice in your own head and realize how often it might not pass the test of being true, kind, and helpful. Right now, the monk suggests gently, think of something encouraging you could say to yourself, something that's true, kind, and helpful. You think of some gentle, supportive words you could offer to yourself. Now, he says, call those words into the canyon and listen to how they sound when they echo back to you. You call out your encouraging words, and hearing them echo back from the canyon feels like receiving a gift from the universe itself. Beautiful, the monk says with satisfaction. This is how you can use right speech to create more peace and happiness in your life. Every kind word you speak to others comes echoing back as kindness received. Every truthful word you speak builds a reputation for trustworthiness. Every helpful word you offer creates a world where help is available when you need it. The canyon holds your words gently, and the echo seems to linger longer than usual, as if the night itself is savoring the kindness. People who have mastered right speech, the monk says very softly, become unaffected by the harshness of the world because they've surrounded themselves with an echo of gentleness. They've learned that they can't control what others say, but they can control what echoes back to them through their own careful speaking. A peaceful silence settles over the canyon, as if all possible words have been spoken, and now it's time simply to rest in the quiet. Let this canyon remind you, the monk whispers, that your words have power. They ripple out into the world and shape the reality that comes back to you. Choose them as carefully as you would choose seeds for a garden, because like seeds, they will grow into the life you experience. The stars overhead seem to twinkle in approval, and a gentle breeze carries the scent of night-blooming flowers up from the canyon depths. The 18th secret, the monk says as you both rise and walk back toward the peaceful garden, is going to show you the difference between being clever and being truly wise. Principle 18. Develop wisdom. As you walk back through the moonlit garden with the monk, you notice something you hadn't seen before. In the very center of the garden stands an enormous, ancient tree. Its trunk is so wide that it would take several people holding hands to reach around it, and its branches stretch up so high they seem to touch the stars themselves. How did I miss this tree before? You ask in wonder. The monk chuckles softly. It's been here all along, but sometimes we only see what we're ready to see. Now that you've learned 17 secrets, you're ready to meet the Ancient One. As you get closer to the magnificent tree, you realize it's even more extraordinary than you first thought. The bark is smooth and silver, almost glowing in the moonlight. The leaves, even in the darkness, seem to shimmer with their own inner light. And the tree radiates a sense of profound peace and ancient knowing. This tree, the monk says reverently, has been here for over 1,000 years. It has seen countless seasons, weathered countless storms, witnessed the rise and fall of many generations. It holds within itself the wisdom of ages. You both sit down among the huge, comfortable roots that spread out like natural chairs, perfectly shaped for resting and contemplation. The 18th secret, the monk says, settling back against the enormous trunk, is to develop wisdom. And this ancient tree is going to teach us the difference between knowledge and true wisdom. A gentle breeze moves through the tree's vast canopy, creating the most soothing sound, like whispered secrets being shared among the leaves. Tell me, the monk says, what do you think is the difference between being smart and being wise. You think about this. Being smart is knowing lots of facts, and being wise is knowing what to do with them? Very good, the monk says with approval. That's part of it. But let me tell you a story that will show you the deeper difference. He places his hand on the ancient bark, as if drawing wisdom directly from the tree. Many years ago, 2 students came to study with me. Both were very intelligent young people. The first student, I'll call him Swift, had a mind like lightning. He could memorize teachings instantly, could debate complex ideas, could impress everyone with his quick thinking and clever responses. You can picture this brilliant, fast-thinking student. The second student, I'll call her Deep, was different. She didn't memorize teachings as quickly as Swift. She couldn't debate as cleverly. But she had something else. She would sit quietly with each teaching, like sitting with this tree, letting it grow roots in her heart. The ancient tree seems to approve of this description, its leaves rustling gently. Swift would learn a teaching about patience and immediately start giving advice to others about how to be patient. Deep would learn the same teaching and spend months practicing patience in her own life, watching how it worked, understanding its depths. Swift would hear about compassion and quickly compose beautiful speeches about the importance of kindness. Deep would hear about compassion and spend quiet time with people who were suffering, learning what real compassion felt like. A night owl calls from high in the tree's branches, its voice ancient and knowing. After several years, the monk continues, both students faced the same challenge. They encountered a person who was very angry and abusive, screaming, blaming, saying terrible things. Swift immediately began trying to debate with this angry person, using all his clever knowledge about anger and psychology and conflict resolution. He had facts and theories and brilliant insights, but the more he talked, the angrier the person became. Deep, on the other hand, did something very simple. She sat down quietly near the angry person and just listened. She didn't try to fix or debate or prove anything. She just offered the deep, patient presence she had cultivated through years of practice. You can imagine these 2 very different responses. The angry person, feeling truly heard for the first time in a long while, gradually began to calm down. Deep's wisdom, not her knowledge, but her actual developed capacity for patient presence, created a space where healing could happen. The monk looks up at the vast tree towering above you both. You see, Swift had gathered a lot of information about wisdom, but Deep had developed actual wisdom, the lived capacity to respond skillfully to life's challenges. A gentle breeze moves through the tree's enormous canopy, and you can almost feel centuries of accumulated peace flowing down to you. This tree, the monk says, demonstrates true wisdom. It doesn't just know about weather, it has learned to bend with storms and stay rooted through droughts. It doesn't just understand the seasons, it has lived through hundreds of them, learning when to rest and when to grow. People who remain unaffected have developed this kind of embodied wisdom, he continues. They don't just know concepts about inner peace. They have practiced inner peace so much that it becomes their natural response to challenges. You lean back against the massive trunk and feel the solid strength that comes from centuries of growth and weathering. True wisdom, the monk explains, comes from 3 sources. First, learning, studying teachings, gathering knowledge, understanding principles. Second, reflecting, thinking deeply about what you've learned, questioning, exploring. And third, experiencing, actually practicing what you've learned until it becomes part of who you are. He picks up a fallen leaf from the tree. Even this single leaf seems to glow with gentle light. See how this leaf contains the wisdom of the entire tree? It knows exactly how to photosynthesize sunlight, how to change colors with the seasons, how to return to the earth when its time is complete. This wisdom isn't theoretical. It's lived, embodied, practical. A shooting star traces across the sky, visible through the gaps in the tree's vast canopy. When you develop real wisdom, the monk says softly, you stop needing to prove how smart you are. Instead, like this ancient tree, you become a source of peace and stability for others. People are drawn to your presence, not because you can impress them with facts, but because you embody the calm strength that comes from genuine understanding. You stop reacting to every situation with your first impulse, and instead you pause, draw from your deep well of experience, and respond with skillfulness. The tree seems to pulse gently with life, demonstrating this quality of deep, grounded wisdom. Right now, the monk suggests, just sit with this tree and feel what 1,000 years of wisdom feels like. Not thinking about it, just absorbing it through your presence here. You close your eyes and lean against the ancient trunk. There's something profoundly calming about connecting with this much accumulated wisdom and peace. Your breathing becomes very slow and deep, matching the tree's eternal rhythm of seasons and years. This is how you develop wisdom, the monk whispers, not just by accumulating information, but by sitting quietly with truth until it becomes part of your very being, by practicing what you learn until it's no longer something you think about, but something you naturally embody. The ancient tree holds you both in its peaceful presence, sharing wordlessly the deep knowing that comes only from centuries of patient growth and weathering every storm. The 19th secret, the monk says so softly his voice seems to come from the tree itself, is going to show you how to find joy in the simplest, most ordinary moments of life. Principle 19. Find joy in simple things. As you rest peacefully against the ancient tree, feeling centuries of wisdom flowing through its massive trunk, you begin to notice something wonderful happening around you. The longer you sit in this deep stillness, the more alive and magical everything becomes. The gentle sound of the fountain seems more musical than before. The fragrance of the night-blooming flowers becomes more sweet and intoxicating. Even the feeling of the soft earth beneath you and the gentle night air on your skin becomes somehow more vivid and delightful. Do you feel that? The monk asks softly, his eyes twinkling with gentle amusement. Everything seems more alive, you say, not quite sure how to describe it. You're beginning to discover the 19th secret, he says with the warmest smile. Come, let me show you something that will make your heart sing. He rises slowly and walks to a part of the garden where the fountain creates a small, clear pool. But as you approach, you see something magical happening in the water. Tiny points of light are dancing just beneath the surface, dozens of them, like liquid stars that have fallen from the sky into this small pool. They move in slow, graceful patterns, creating the most enchanting light show you've ever seen. Fireflies, the monk whispers, and you realize that these magical creatures have come to play in the fountain's gentle spray, their soft light reflecting and multiplying in the water. You both kneel beside the pool, mesmerized by this simple yet miraculous display. The fireflies dance their ancient dance, blinking on and off in perfect rhythm as if the night itself has learned to twinkle. The 19th secret, the monk says very softly, is to find joy in simple things, to see the extraordinary magic that hides within ordinary moments. One particularly bold firefly lands on the monk's outstretched hand, pulsing gently with its soft, golden light. Most people, he continues, still watching the firefly on his palm, spend their whole lives waiting for big dramatic moments to feel happy. They think joy only comes from getting exactly what they want, achieving major goals, or having exciting adventures. The firefly on his hand blinks once more, and then flies back to join its companions dancing over the water. But people who remain truly unaffected have discovered something wonderful, the monk says. They've learned that the deepest, most sustainable joy comes not from dramatic peaks, but from appreciating the gentle magic that surrounds us every single moment. A gentle breeze stirs the water, and the firefly's reflections dance like liquid light. If you have a comfortable bed, you can find joy in how soft and supportive it feels. If you have to sleep on the ground, you can find joy in feeling connected to the earth. If you have delicious food, you can marvel at the flavors. If you have simple food, you can appreciate the miracle that it nourishes your body. The fireflies begin to slowly disperse, their dance gradually becoming more scattered and gentle as the night deepens. The secret, the monk says softly, is to approach each moment with fresh eyes, as if you're seeing everything for the first time. When you wake up tomorrow, instead of immediately thinking about your problems or your plans, spend a few moments just appreciating that you can see color, that you can hear sounds, that you can feel the miracle of being alive in a body that breathes without effort. You watch the last few fireflies drift away into the darkness, their gentle light becoming one with the stars. Simple joy, the monk whispers, is like these fireflies. You can't force it to appear, but when you create the right conditions, stillness, attention, gratitude, it naturally emerges and fills your world with light. You sit together in peaceful silence, both feeling the gentle glow that comes from appreciating something simple and beautiful together. People who have mastered this secret, the monk says very quietly, carry their own inner light wherever they go, like fireflies in human form. They illuminate every ordinary moment with the recognition of its hidden magic. Your breathing becomes soft and content, in harmony with the gentle rhythm of the fountain and the peaceful night air. In and out, in and out. Each breath feeling like a small celebration of the simple miracle of being alive. The 20th and final secret, the monk says with great gentleness, is the one that will bring everything together and show you your true purpose in this beautiful web of existence. Principle 20. Live with purpose. As the last firefly disappears into the star-filled night, the monk rises and begins walking towards something you hadn't noticed before. A gentle path that leads away from the garden, winding up toward what appears to be a small temple silhouetted against the starry sky. Come, he says with quiet reverence. It's time for you to receive the final secret, the one that makes all the others complete. You follow him up the soft, moonlit path. With each step, you feel lighter somehow, as if all the wisdom you've gathered tonight is lifting you up rather than weighing you down. The 19 secrets you've learned seem to be glowing gently in your heart, like small, warm lights. The path winds gently upward, not steep or difficult. Just a peaceful ascent through gardens of night-blooming flowers that seem to bow their heads respectfully as you pass. The air grows even more pure and sweet, filled with the fragrance of jasmine and something else, something that smells like starlight itself. As you reach the top of the small hill, you see the temple clearly. It's simple and beautiful, made of white stone that seems to glow softly in the moonlight. It has graceful columns and an open design that feels welcoming rather than imposing. But what takes your breath away is what surrounds the temple. Hundreds of small candles have been placed around the entire structure, creating a gentle constellation of light that mirrors the stars above. Each candle flame dances softly in the night air, contributing its small light to an overall glow of extraordinary beauty and peace. "Welcome," the monk says softly, "to the Temple of Purpose." As you walk among the candles toward the temple's entrance, you see that each one is different. Some are tall, some are short. Some burn with bright flames, others with gentle ones. Some are new, others have been burning for what seems like a long time, but each one contributes to the overall illumination. The 20th secret, the monk says as you enter the temple, is to live with purpose, and these candles are going to teach you what that really means. Inside the temple, it's even more beautiful. The walls are carved with symbols and patterns that seem to tell the story of all existence. Spirals representing the cycles of nature, interconnected circles showing the unity of all life, and flowing designs that suggest the dance of creation itself. In the center of the temple, there's a large candle, taller and brighter than all the others, with a flame that burns so steady and pure, it never seems to flicker. This, the monk says, approaching the central candle with great reverence, represents the light of pure consciousness, the source from which all other lights come. You both sit down on soft cushions arranged around this central flame, and immediately you feel a profound sense of peace and homecoming. "Look at this flame," the monk says gently. "What is its purpose?" You watch the steady, beautiful light. "To shine," you say. "Yes, simply to shine. Not to prove anything, not to compete with other lights, not to burn brighter than it needs to. Just to give its light purely and freely." He picks up a small, unlit candle from beside the cushions. And how does a candle fulfill its purpose? By being lit from another flame, you realize. Exactly. The monk touches the small candle to the central flame, and it immediately comes alive with light. This candle doesn't create its own light. It receives light and then shares it. It becomes a carrier of the same illumination that exists in the central flame. He places the newly lit candle among the others, and you see how it adds to the overall beauty without diminishing any other light. "This," the monk says softly, "is the deepest secret of living with purpose. You are like one of these candles. You have your own unique size, shape, and position. But your fundamental purpose is the same as every other being, to receive the light of love and consciousness, and then to share it in your own unique way." A gentle breeze moves through the temple, making all the flames dance together in harmony. People spend their whole lives wondering, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? The monk continues. They think purpose is something complicated and dramatic that they have to figure out or achieve. But your true purpose is much simpler and much more beautiful than that. You're here to be a light in the world, to receive love, wisdom, peace, and joy, and then to radiate those qualities wherever you are, whoever you're with, whatever you're doing. You look around at all the different candles, tall ones, short ones, thick ones, thin ones, each contributing to the collective illumination. Some people think their candle isn't important because it's not the biggest or brightest, the monk says. But look around this temple. Would it be as beautiful if we removed even the smallest candle? You can see that each light, no matter how small, adds to the overall magic. Your purpose isn't to be someone else's candle. It's to be your own candle, burning with the pure intention to add light to the world. If you're a teacher, you fulfill your purpose by bringing the light of knowledge and inspiration to your students. If you're a parent, you fulfill it by sharing the light of love and guidance with your children. If you're a friend, you do it by offering the light of companionship and support. A profound sense of understanding begins to dawn in your heart. But even simpler than that, the monk continues, you fulfill your purpose every time you choose kindness over meanness, peace over anxiety, patience over frustration, understanding over judgment. Every time you make one of these choices, you're adding light to the world. The central flame burns even brighter, as if responding to these words. Let me tell you about a small candle I once knew, the monk says, his voice taking on the rhythm of a gentle lullaby. This candle was very worried because it wasn't as tall as the pillar candles or as colorful as the decorative ones. It felt small and insignificant. But this little candle was placed in the window of a house where a lonely old woman lived. Every evening, when the woman felt sad and forgotten, she would see that small candle glowing in her window, and it would remind her that there was still light and beauty in the world. That tiny candle never knew how important it was. It just did what candles do. It shone. But its simple light brought comfort and hope to someone who needed it very much. You feel a warm recognition in your heart, understanding that you too might be bringing light to others in ways you never realize. This is your purpose, the monk says softly. Not something grand and complicated, but something beautiful and simple. You're here to let the light of your true nature shine through everything you do. When you learned these 20 secrets tonight, you weren't learning how to become someone different. You were learning how to remove everything that dims your natural light. The worry, the anger, the fear, the impatience, the judgments. He gestures to all the candles around you. See how each flame burns more brightly when it's not covered by anything? Your purpose is to live so clearly, so peacefully, so lovingly, that your inner light can shine unobstructed. A shooting star streaks across the sky, visible through the temple's open roof, as if the universe itself is celebrating this understanding. People who live with true purpose, the monk continues, become unaffected by the darkness around them because they're so focused on sharing their light. They don't waste energy fighting against the darkness. They simply shine, and wherever their light reaches, darkness naturally disappears. You sit in the gentle glow of hundreds of candles, feeling how each one contributes to the overall peace and beauty, and you understand something profound about your place in the world. Right now, the monk says very softly, feel the light that's already glowing in your heart. All these secrets we've shared tonight, they haven't created this light. They've just helped you remember it was always there. You close your eyes and feel a warm, steady glow in your chest, your own inner candle, lit from the same source as all the others, ready to shine. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you won't need to remember all 20 secrets perfectly, the monk whispers. You'll just need to remember this feeling of your own inner light and let it guide you through whatever the day brings. When someone is difficult, let your light shine with patience. When something doesn't go as planned, let your light shine with acceptance. When you see someone struggling, let your light shine with compassion. The temple seems to pulse gently with collective illumination, as if all the candles are breathing together. This is how you remain unaffected, the monk says, his voice becoming softer and more mystical. Not by building walls or becoming hard, but by shining so brightly from your center that nothing external can dim your inner radiance. You become like these flames, dancing when the wind blows, but never losing your essential light, bending with the storms of life, but never going out. A profound peace settles over the temple, and you feel yourself becoming one with this gentle illumination. Your purpose, the monk whispers, is to be a blessing to this world, not through what you achieve or accomplish, but through what you embody, through the peace you carry, the kindness you offer, the light you share simply by being who you truly are. The candles seem to grow even more beautiful, their light merging into one unified glow that holds you both in perfect peace. Rest now in this understanding, the monk says, so softly his voice seems to come from the light itself. Feel how simple and natural it is to be a candle in the temple of existence, sharing your unique light with all of creation. As you sit in the temple of purpose, surrounded by the gentle glow of countless candles, you feel something wonderful happening. All 20 secrets you've learned tonight seem to be settling into your heart, like seeds taking root in the most fertile soil. The monk rises very slowly, moving like someone who doesn't want to disturb the profound peace that fills the temple. It's time, he says with infinite gentleness, to begin the journey home. But you're not the same person who started walking with me tonight. You carry within you now an unshakable foundation of peace. You stand as well, feeling surprisingly light and refreshed, as if the long journey has energized rather than tired you. Before we leave, the monk says, take one more look around this temple. See how all these individual candles create one unified light. Remember this image. You are both one unique candle and part of this greater illumination. You look around at the beautiful sea of gentle flames, feeling deeply connected to each one and to the whole. Together you walk slowly out of the temple and begin making your way back down the moonlit path. But something magical happens as you walk. Instead of leaving the light behind, you realize you're carrying it with you. The warm glow you feel in your heart illuminates the path ahead. Do you feel it? The monk asks as you walk peacefully together through the night-blooming flowers. Yes, you say. It's like I have my own inner candle now. You always had it, he says with a gentle smile. Tonight, we just cleared away everything that was covering it. As you walk back through the garden where you learned to cultivate inner peace, you can see how all the flowers seem to glow with their own inner light. The fountain bubbles more musically. The ancient tree radiates even deeper wisdom. Everything looks the same, but you see it all differently now. This is what happens when you remain unaffected, the monk explains. The world doesn't change, but your perception of it transforms completely. You see the light that was always there. You pass by the lake that taught you acceptance, and its surface is perfectly still, reflecting the stars like liquid diamonds. You can see your own reflection in the water, and something about your face looks more peaceful, more radiant than before. Walking by the canyon where you learned about right speech, you hear a soft echo, not from any words you've spoken, but from the peace you're carrying. It's as if your inner state is so harmonious that the world itself is echoing it back to you. As you pass the spot where you met the angry traveler, the monk pauses. If you met that same person now, how would you respond? You think about it and realize something wonderful. I think I would see their pain instead of their anger. I would understand that their meanness comes from forgetting their own inner light. Exactly, the monk says with deep satisfaction. This is what it means to remain unaffected. Not that difficult people or situations won't appear in your life, but that you'll respond from your inner light instead of reacting from old patterns of fear or hurt. You continue down the path, past the pond where you learn to focus on the present moment. The water is still and peaceful, and you realize your mind feels like that now, calm and clear, able to see reflections of truth without being disturbed by every passing thought. Walking by the river, where you first learned that everything changes, you see the water flowing as peacefully as ever. But now you understand something the river has always known, that change and permanence can exist together. The water is always changing, but the river's essential nature of flowing toward the sea never changes. These 20 secrets, the monk says as you approach the place where you first met him, are like 20 jewels you now carry in your heart. You don't need to think about them constantly or remember them perfectly. They've become part of who you are. You reach the large flat stone where the monk was sitting when you first encountered him. It seems like lifetimes ago, but also like just moments ago. When you wake up tomorrow, the monk says, settling onto the stone one more time, you might not remember every detail of our journey together, but you'll remember the feeling of deep peace. You'll remember the sense of your own inner light, and that will be enough. You sit beside him on the stone, both of you looking out over the peaceful landscape where you've traveled together. The meadows, the hills, the forests, all bathed in gentle starlight. Whenever life brings challenges, the monk continues, you can return to any place we visited tonight. In your memory, in your imagination, in your heart. You can sit by the river and remember that all things pass. You can visit the mountaintop and remember the bigger picture. You can return to the temple and remember your purpose. A comfortable silence settles between you, full of deep companionship and shared understanding. But most importantly, the monk says very softly, remember that you don't need to be perfect at any of these practices. You're not trying to become someone who never feels upset or challenged. You're simply learning to return more and more quickly to your center, to your inner light, to your natural state of peace. The first hint of dawn begins to touch the eastern horizon, not the bright light of full morning, but the gentle glow that comes just before sunrise. And now, the monk says, it's time for you to rest, not just your body, but your mind and heart as well. You've done beautiful work tonight. You've remembered who you really are underneath all the worries and fears and distractions. You feel a deep tiredness beginning to settle over you, not the exhaustion that comes from being depleted, but the satisfied weariness that comes from meaningful accomplishment. Lie down here on this soft grass, the monk suggests, and let yourself sink into the deepest, most peaceful sleep. As you rest, all these teachings will continue to integrate into your being. Your dreams will be filled with light and wisdom. You lie down on the incredibly soft grass beneath the vast, star-filled sky. The earth feels supportive and nurturing, like a mother's arms holding you. Close your eyes, the monk whispers, and feel how unshakable you are now, like a mountain that remains peaceful through all seasons, like a tree with roots so deep that no storm can uproot it, like a candle whose light cannot be extinguished. Your breathing becomes very slow and deep, in and out, in and out, each breath carrying you deeper into perfect peace. You are unaffected. The monk's voice becomes softer and softer, like a gentle breeze carrying words of blessing. Unaffected by the opinions of others, because you know your own worth. Unaffected by the changing circumstances of life, because you found the changeless peace within. Unaffected by the darkness in the world, because you carry your own light. The stars overhead seem to be sending down streams of peaceful energy, and you feel yourself floating on waves of the deepest tranquility. Sleep now, the monk whispers, his voice blending with the gentle sounds of the night. Sleep with the knowledge that you are loved, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, that you have everything you need within you to remain peaceful and joyful no matter what life brings. Sleep and dream of light, and wake tomorrow as someone who truly cannot be shaken by the storms of life. Your breathing becomes so soft and gentle that you hardly seem to be breathing at all. Your body sinks into the earth as if you're melting into the embrace of the universe itself. Unaffected, unshakable, at peace. The monk's voice fades into the gentle symphony of the night, the soft whisper of wind through grass, the distant sound of water flowing, the quiet hum of a world at rest. And surrounded by this perfect peace, cradled by the earth and watched over by the stars, you drift into the deepest, most restorative sleep of your life, carrying within you the unshakable foundation of true inner peace. The 20 secrets glow gently in your heart like candles in a temple, their light keeping you safe and serene through all the hours of healing rest that follow. And you sleep, and you are at peace, and nothing in all the world can disturb the profound tranquility that you have found within yourself. Sleep, 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 unaffected by anything, forever at peace.